Chapter 390, Breakthrough. Breakthrough. Condensing the 9 treasure jade rui. _4 As the cultivation technique circulated, a treasure light flowed around his chest, and the imprint of the black dragon magical bead gradually surfaced, becoming clearly visible. The treasure light flowed, dazzling and splendid. Flesh crawled as the black dragon magical bead slowly emerged from his chest. This process was exceedingly slow and also extremely painful. After a long time, Lu Changsheng finally extracted the black dragon magical bead from his breastbone. Huff puff puff, Lu Changsheng rubbed his breastbone, gasping for breath and feeling somewhat fatigued. At this moment, the black dragon magical bead's dark light was dimmed. Inside, the miniature flood dragon was even more listless, on its last breath. Naturally, Lu Changxing knew that this black dragon magical bead, which had accompanied him for 10 years, had its origin source depleted by half. The once middle-grade magical treasure now couldn't even be counted as a lower-grade one. It was only a half-ruined magical treasure. If he continued to use it for cultivating the 100 Refinements treasure body art, he estimated that in another decade, once the 100 Refinements treasure body art was cultivated to the 5th layer, this black dragon magical bead would be completely spent. Merely 10 years have let me cultivate the 100 Refinements treasure body art from the 1st layer to now. It was worth it. Lu Changsheng looked at the black dragon magical bead in his hand and let out a light breath. He didn't feel any heartache. In his view, this black dragon magical bead had allowed him to cultivate the 100 Refinements treasure body art to this level in just 10 years, which was quite acceptable. After all, since the magical treasure was integrated into his body, he hadn't spent any time cultivating this technique. It had been entirely automatic. During this period, it had also been used to nurture his treasure bones. Under such circumstances, he could accept a higher cost. He took an elixir medicine and began to circulate his cultivation to recover his state. Just now, extracting the black dragon magical bead had also taken a significant toll on him. What followed, the integration of the 9 treasure jade rui, was also a major undertaking. He had to maintain his peak condition. One day later, Lu Changxing, fully restored and energized, began to integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body. It took him a full 3 days to successfully integrate the 9 treasure jade rui into his body, causing a 9-colored rui pattern to appear on his chest. The instant he completed the integration, Lu Changxing immediately felt an immense force surge from his chest, refining his flesh, blood vessels, and bones. This effect was completely 2 or 3 times that of the black dragon magical bead. The reason it was only 2 to 3 times more was simply because this efficiency had already reached the limit of his physical body. Any further increase would place a burden on his physique. Unworthy as it is to be called a celestial spiritual treasure, with this 9 treasure jade rui, I'm afraid that in 3 or 4 years, my 100 Refinements treasure body art will be able to break through the 5th layer. Lu Changxing gently stroked the area on his chest, his joyful eyes revealing a look of anticipation. After all, the 9 great divine abilities of the 9 treasure jade rui were something he coveted greatly. Once the 9 treasure jade rui is refined into his life-bound treasured bone, these 9 divine abilities would also become his innate divine abilities. His strength would then see an overall enhancement. Unlike before with the black dragon magical bead, where the Baogu method after years of nurturing through the magical treasure could only unleash one strike of the treasure bone's power. Once the power of the treasure bones was exhausted, it needed to be nurtured anew. After resting for 3 days, Lu Changxing reintegrated the black dragon treasure bead into his left hand. Although with the 9 treasure jade rui now, whether he needed this black dragon magical bead was irrelevant. But since the 9 treasure jade rui was ultimately to be refined into his life-bound treasured bone, the less origin source that was lost, the better. After finishing his task, he glanced at the golden armor bean mother in his courtyard. Under the nurturing of the 3-colored soil, initial results were showing, as the bean sprouts began to sprout leaves faintly. It should be noted that this golden armor bean mother had only been planted for 2 years. Satisfied with the progress, Lu Changxing nodded and then rode the Iron Feather Eagle back to Red Leaf Valley Market. This half year, Besides occasionally visiting his wife and children in Rui Prefecture, he had been mostly at Qingzhou Mountain or Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the prior incident with the robber cultivator, the traffic at Red Leaf Valley Market had significantly declined. This had affected the business of his Peace Talisman Hall as well. However, the impact wasn't major. The main income of his shop came from the 5 supreme talismans he issued each month. The total income of the entire shop didn't compare to the profit from these 5 supreme talismans. Sister Miaoga, you have completed your cultivation technique transition. Upon arriving at the spiritual talisman shop, Lu Changxing saw Lu Miaoga and could tell at a glance that her spiritual power had all transformed into the Saturn's solar spiritual energy. I was actually planning to tell you this good news, but I didn't expect you, Changxing, to notice it right away, said Lu Miaoga, her elegant and gentle demeanor as serene as water. I also cultivate this technique, so I can easily sense it, Lu Changxing said with a light laugh. He continued to inquire, Sister Miaoga, how much did your cultivation level get affected by completing the technique transition? Generally, transitioning to a new cultivation technique incurs some loss. This technique and the previously cultivated Xian Yuan Ju are both water attribute cultivation techniques, so the loss wasn't much, roughly 20%, she said. Although 20% was lost, I can feel my spiritual power is 20% more profound, Lu Miaoga said excitedly, her beautiful eyes shimmering. She could clearly sense the sophistication and power of the Saturn Solar Sword technique. That's good, Lu Changxing nodded, thinking the loss was manageable. After all, compared to the foundation increase, this slight setback in cultivation wasn't significant. It could be recovered with a bit more time and effort. Afterward, he also further instructed and taught Lu Miaoga about the cultivation of the Saturn Solar Sword technique, as well as the accompanying techniques. Chapter 391. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back under. One time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another half-year had passed. Over this half-year, Lu Changsheng's life remained as monotonous yet fulfilling as ever. Every day he practiced cultivation, crafted talismans, produced offspring, and then dual cultivated with Xianxia. In this year, he had 9 more children, bringing the total to 138. And after such a long time of dual cultivation, Xiaoxia's Dao foundation was almost fully restored. Inside the cave abode, accompanied by a low roar and a soft moan, Lu Changxing and Xiaoxia ended their cultivation. The two quietly embraced each other, savoring the lingering feelings afterwards. Changxing, after 2 or 3 more times, the cracks and fissures in my Dao foundation should be able to heal, Xiaoxia said softly while snuggled against Lu Changsheng's chest, her face blushing. These 2 or 3 times, naturally, didn't just refer to dual cultivation, but to the restoration of the Dao foundation through the yin-yang energies. Let me take a look. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing took Xiaoxia's wrist and inspected her Dao foundation with his divine sense. The cracks and fissures on the Dao pedestal were almost invisible now. It seems to be really fast. Shiyu, didn't you say that my yin-yang energies not only repair the Dao foundation, but also resonate with your Dao foundation, resulting in a transformation? Can you feel how much longer it will take to undergo this change? Lu Changxing, playing with the full and silky skin, piled up like snow, asked out loud. I feel that when my Dao foundation is completely repaired, it will undergo some kind of change, Xiaoxia said. Oh, that's quite a fortunate turn of events. Congratulations to you, Shiyu. Lu Changxing chuckled softly. Changxing, aren't you worried that it'll leave you once my Dao foundation is fully restored? Xiaoxia, seeing the casual look on Lu Changsheng's face, pouted slightly. I've said before, I will respect all of your choices, Lu Changxing said with a sincere look in his eyes. Shiyu doesn't believe it. You must be saying one thing and thinking another, convinced that I surely can't escape the palm of your hand, Xiaoxia snorted softly. Her mind was sharp and clear, and having been with Lu Changxing for so long, she had realized that he was not one to let go easily. Deep down, he was incredibly possessive and imperious. These words were just to comfort herself, not wanting to make herself feel upset. Of course, while I do respect you, how could my love for Shiyu be something I can just let go of so easily? Lu Changxing said with a wry smile. As the two were having a tender conversation, a system notification sounded in Lu Changxing's mind. Congratulations to the host for your first offspring to break through to the martial Dao innate, resulting in bloodline effect, 5% increase in the probability of offspring reproduction, and 1 lottery draw opportunity. As the system notification sounded, a surge of vital energy force suddenly entered Lu Changxing's body out of thin air. This strength of an innate martial artist brought no significant enhancement to Lu Changxing, who had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body technique to the 4th level. The improvement it brought was minute. However, compared to the feedback when Lu Xianxia and Lu Chuanjin completed their qi introduction, it was much stronger. Pingon has broken through to the innate level. Lu Changxing paused momentarily in thought. He knew it was his son Lu Pingon who had broken through to the martial Dao innate. When he had returned to Rui Prefecture previously, Lu Pingon had told him that he would be able to break through to the martial Dao innate in a few months. Counting the time, it was indeed about right. It had not occurred to Lu Changxing that the children's breakthrough to martial Dao innate would also come with system achievement rewards. In the past, when his children practiced martial arts, the system had not prompted anything, and the strength displayed on the panel was marked as none. He had thought that there was no system achievement reward in this regard. Only after the system notification sounded did he realize that only after reaching the martial Dao innate does it meet the condition for triggering achievement rewards. It seems that in the system achievements, one is considered to have only started martial arts upon the breakthrough to the innate level, corresponding to a cultivator's introduction of qi into the body. For ordinary people, achieving the martial Dao innate is extremely difficult, but for me, as long as I am willing to spend money and the children are willing to train, they can basically achieve the martial Dao innate by the age of 20. Indeed, the system achievement rewards cannot depend solely on having children. It is necessary to foster their development, Lu Changxing thought to himself. He had his children practice martial arts, partly with the idea of enhancing his own martial strength. However, as his own strength improved, he became less focused on this idea. Raising his children in martial arts had more to do with strengthening their bodies. Moreover, it gave them the ability to protect themselves in case of danger in the secular world. Previously, it was the increase in probability of spiritual root amongst the offspring. Now it's an increase in the probability of offspring reproduction. Every time a cultivator breaks through a cultivation realm, reproduction becomes more difficult. I wonder how significant this 5% probability increase is. Moreover, this increase in probability is probably only on my part. But the difficulty of cultivators conceiving increases after gaining strength, and it's the same for both male and female cultivators. Lu Changxing, looking at the increase of 5% probability for offspring reproduction on the system prompt, pondered silently. He knew that each major realm breakthrough made reproduction more difficult for cultivators. But he had no way to judge just how much more difficult it had become. And there were no records of this in the cultivation world. After all, everyone practices different cultivation techniques, condenses different Dao foundations, has different personal situations, and the final outcomes could be different. Moreover, not many cultivators would study such matters. Changxing, what's wrong? Just then, Xianxia noticed Lu Changxing was slightly lost in thought and asked. Nothing, I was just thinking about something. Lu Changxing, hearing Xianxia's voice, immediately came back to reality and chuckled. Hearing his response, Xianxia did not inquire further. The two continued to chat leisurely for a while and then lay down to sleep in each other's arms. The next day, Lu Changxing left Xianxia's cave abode and went to his own peace talisman hall. Chapter 392. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back. Although he did not often come here, he still had his own meditation room and talisman room on the 3rd floor. System, draw a lottery. After arriving at the 3rd floor meditation room, Lu Changxing silently evoked in his heart. Immediately, the system's lottery wheel appeared. Start the draw. Then, a golden light began to rapidly spin on the lottery wheel. Moments later, the golden light slowly came to a stop on other. Ding! Congratulations to the host on obtaining the goo insect Hope Goo. The reward has been sent to the system space, and the host can check it at any time. A thumb-sized pattern, resembling a light orb, emerged from the big wheel along with the sound of a system prompt. Goo insect hope goo? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow upon seeing this reward. Having the peach blossom goo before, he subconsciously felt good about goo insects. After all, among the more than 20 previous lottery items, the peach blossom goo could be considered a good reward. It not only improved one's appearance and temperament but also subtly enhanced one's peach blossom luck. It could also guard the sea of consciousness, fear no other goo insect effects, and resist divine sense attacks. Just the name Hope Goo sounds strange. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself, unable to guess the effect of the goo based on the name alone. Right away, his mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked toward the system space. Goo insect, Hope Goo. Quality, celestial spiritual goo. Description, a miraculous goo naturally born between heaven and earth that can endow mortals with enlightenment and give birth to the spiritual root. As long as there is hope, miracles can happen, enabling mortals to gain enlightenment and produce spiritual roots. Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat upon seeing the explanation for the hope goo. Long ago, he had perused books looking for information on how mortals could cultivate and beget spiritual roots. But there were no relevant records at all. He knew that it was virtually impossible for mortals to practice cultivation, and treasures that could bestow spiritual roots on mortals could only be encountered after reaching the nascent soul stage. Although he had thought that with the system, he might obtain such treasures and enable mortals to practice cultivation and develop spiritual roots, Lu Changsheng did not hold too much hope. After all, where there's hope, there can also be disappointment. Of course, Lu Changsheng could not deny that he did not have a strong obsession with this aspect. Hope goo. A ray of hope, huh? Lu Changsheng, looking at the hope goo in the system space, recalled taking Lu Pingon and others to test for spiritual roots. After finding no spiritual roots, the children returned home with downcast faces. Then Lu Pingon looked up with hopeful eyes and asked if one couldn't become a cultivator without a spiritual root. This hope goo, can it only enlighten one person, or? Lu Changsheng's mental spirit stirred slightly and he extracted the hope goo from the system. Suddenly, the hope goo, the size of a thumb and resembling an orb of light, appeared in his hand. The details about the hope goo entered his mind. Just like the peach blossom goo, it could only be used once, enabling a person to gain enlightenment and produce a spiritual root. As for the quality of the engendered spiritual root, it would depend on the individual's circumstances and be influenced by one's physical condition and the intensity of hope in their heart. Besides enlightenment and the production of spiritual roots, the hope goo had another effect. That is, in the face of desperate situations, as long as hope remained unextinguished in one's heart, the goo could forcibly trigger one's potential. Sigh. I'll give this hope goo to Pingon. Lu Changsheng looked at the hope goo in his hand and let out a breath. He planned to give the hope goo to his eldest son, Lu Pingon. This was his first son. He had been brought up from a young age, to whom he had devoted much affection. Moreover, this son had always been a source of pride and peace of mind. Now that Lu Pingon had broken through to the martial Dao innate and obtained a lottery draw, it seemed like a stroke of fate that he got the hope goo. However, the hope goo's ability to enlighten mortals and engender spiritual roots is too shocking to the world. If I use the hope goo to enlighten Pingon now, it might attract trouble. And there's the issue of inequality, not just scarcity. The hope goo is just one, only able to grant a spiritual root to one person. Other children who once thought spiritual roots were innate and had accepted reality may now become upset and resentful upon seeing Pingon with a spiritual root. Therefore, the existence of the hope goo must absolutely be kept a secret. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. He knew many of his children had dreams of cultivation. Or rather, having been born on Qingzhou Mountain and raised in such an environment, it was impossible for them not to aspire to become cultivators. But since spiritual roots are innate and they didn't possess them, accepting reality was their only option. If they saw that he enabled Lu Pingon to develop a spiritual root, it would easily upset the balance. Even his wives, upon knowing that he possessed such an object and chose to give it to Lu Pingan, would feel uncomfortable, even if they did not voice it. Pingan has just broken through to the innate level and is preparing to travel abroad for trials. It's a good opportunity for him to temper himself. Later on, he'll see how things go and decide whether to give him the hope goo. As for the hope goo matter, there's no need to let anyone know. After all, not every cup of water can be leveled. Lu Changxing did not think much of it. He was no longer the kind of person who would become overly anxious or sentimental over such issues. He already had plans for the hope goo in his mind. He prepared to wait until Lu Pingan went out to experience the world, and after some tempering, he would then decide whether to give him the hope goo. Moreover, what he had in mind was that if he used the hope goo to open Lu Pingan's spiritual aperture and birth a spiritual root, his eldest son would have to live outside under a different identity from then on. He could no longer appear before the world as Lu Pingan. A man is not guilty for carrying a gem, but the gem makes him a target. I should also visit Rui Prefecture later. Chapter 393. Encountering the girl you like. Bring them all back. Lu Changxing took out a jade box, stored the hope goo inside, and then placed it into the spiritual pet bag. Initially, when Lu Pingan said he wanted to go out for training experiences, he told him to break through to the innate level first. Now that he had broken through to innate, he naturally wouldn't say much more. But with his son leaving home as a father, there were naturally some things he needed to explain. After speaking with Lu Miaoge and Xiaoxia, Lu Changxing rode the Iron Feather Eagle back to Qingzhou Mountain. After dealing with some minor matters and staying for half a month on Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing took Bai Ling with him to Rui Prefecture. By now, Bai Ling's cultivation level had reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. It was estimated that before long, she would break through to the 4th level of qi refinement. This rate of progress was truly astonishing. Lu Changxing guessed that his earlier assumption of Bai Ling having a high-grade spiritual root was actually an underestimation. Given Bai Ling's speed of cultivation, she was likely to reach perfection in qi refinement and be ready for foundation establishment in her 20s. Linger, aren't you bored being at Qingzhou Mountain every day? As the Iron Feather Eagle soared through the sky, Lu Changxing asked Bai Ling, "Not at all. Everyone here is so nice. Sister Yun, Sister Xinxin, Sister Jiue, they all treat me so well, and Rui, Xiaoru, Qingshan, and Xiaozhu often play with me too." Upon hearing this, Bai Ling immediately responded cheerfully. In her eyes, Qingzhou Mountain was nothing short of a paradise on earth. Not only did they not dislike or shun her here, but they also liked her very much, took care of her, and played with her. So, after spending a little over a year on Qingzhou Mountain, Bai Ling's personality had become much more cheerful. She was no longer the same as before, socially anxious and tense when meeting people, her face timid and afraid. Of course, this cheerfulness was currently limited to being within Lu Changxing's estate, in front of the wives, maids, and children of Lu Changxing. Once she stepped outside the estate, facing other people on Qingzhou Mountain, she became quiet and reticent again. But it was already much better than before. That's good. If there's anything, you can talk directly to your sister Yun. If it's not convenient, you can also talk directly to your brother. Seeing Bai Ling's happy face, Lu Changxing couldn't help but smile gently. He rubbed the little girl's head, which was adorned with 2 buns. This had become a habit of his. And Bai Ling thoroughly enjoyed being affectionately rubbed on the head by him. 3 days later, the two arrived at Rui County City. Walking along the bustling streets of Rui County City, witnessing the passing crowds, the little girl became instantly nervous, holding tightly to Lu Changxing's hand. "Big brother is here." Seeing this, Lu Changxing gently squeezed her soft little hand and smiled warmly. Looking at Lu Changxing's handsome and unsurpassed appearance, his dashing and transcendent aura, and his warm and gentle smile, Bai Ling pursed her lips, feeling much of her tension dissipate. It was only with Lu Changxing by her side that she dared to walk on such a busy street filled with people coming and going. If she were alone, she wouldn't have stepped out in a place with so many people. "My lord." Mississippi. The two arrived at the Lu residence. The steward and guards at the entrance of the residence promptly greeted them with a bow. Lu Changxing nodded his head and entered the mansion with Bai Ling. Dad. Husband, linger. Returning home was naturally a bustling affair. All the wives and children came to greet them. The first batch of children had all grown quite a bit. They no longer clung affectionately like they did when they were little, eager to be hugged. As for the younger batch of children, due to spending less time together, their relationship with Lu Changxing as a father was relatively less intimate. They greeted their father with respectful salutes. After briefly caring for and greeting his wives and children, and seeing that most of the people had dispersed, Lu Changxing looked towards his son Lu Pingan, who had been standing silently by the side. Pingan, why are you standing there looking lost? Is there something you want to talk to Dad about? Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. He knew his son wanted to tell him about his breakthrough to the innate level. But he hadn't spoken up as there were always people around. Dad, I've broken through to the innate level. Lu Pingan immediately said with a beaming smile. Breaking through to the innate level, not bad, worthy of being my son. I remember you're just over a month shy of turning 16. TSK breaking through to the martial Dao innate level before 16, you'd be considered a genius in the martial world. Lu Changxing patted his son's shoulder and said with a beaming smile, observing his son closely. Thanks to practicing martial arts from a young age, Lu Pingan had a very robust stature. But he didn't appear overly muscular, exuding a feel of being tall and vigorous. His height was almost 1.75 meters, only slightly shorter than him. He guessed in another 2 years, the boy would catch up with him. The son's appearance couldn't be considered handsome, only fair. And he only bore a slight resemblance to his father's profile. This was entirely due to Lu Changxing practicing the immortal beauty technique and the improvements from peach blossom goo. Moreover, Lu Pingan's features were fair with a hint of firmness and toughness. While Lu Changxing himself was handsome and transcendent, smooth and jade-like. The father and son exuded completely different temperaments. It's all thanks to your upbringing, Dad. If it weren't for eating spirit rice and spiritual meals every day, how could my martial arts have progressed so quickly? Lu Pingan scratched his head and said with a wide grin. You mentioned before that you wanted to travel, and Dad told you to wait until you've broken through to innate. Now that you've achieved innate, Dad naturally won't stop you. Do you have any plans in mind? Lu Changxing sat down with his son on the side and asked aloud. In truth, he wasn't very reassured about Lu Pingan's journey outside. Because his son had a kind and honest nature. Under Lu Lansh's education, although he had become somewhat shrewd, he was still straightforward. Chapter 394. Encountering the girl you like, bring them all back under *4. I don't have any grand plans, just thinking of visiting Grandpa Li's place first. Instructor Zhao, Instructor Mu, and Uncle Li, Uncle Hong have all said that the Jianghu is dangerous. Before, Uncle Li mentioned that if I wanted to go out and travel, I could first go to the Crimson Whale Gang to see the perils of Jianghu and then decide whether or not I want to venture far. Lu Pingan spoke honestly. It's good that you have this idea. Going to the Crimson Whale Gang to gain some experience is also a good start. Hong Yi nodded in agreement upon hearing this. Because of their relationship with Hong Yi and Li Feiyu, the three families had much more interaction with each other. Under the care of Hong Yi, Li Feiyu's Crimson Whale Gang had been thriving, consistently handling Jianghu affairs for the Rui Marquis mansion. It was not a bad idea for Lu Pingan to gain some experience at the Crimson Whale Gang. At least he would face some real situations. Otherwise, letting his son wander around aimlessly was something he, as a father, couldn't be at ease with. Dad, there's just Mom's side that he'll need you to talk to. Lu Pingan scratched his head, looking somewhat embarrassed as he spoke. What? She learned you wanted to travel and she objected, didn't she? Lan Shu burst into laughter upon hearing this. His wife Lu Lanshu had the demeanor of a well-brought-up lady and naturally disliked her son engaging in fights and killings. Especially since Lu Pingan was the eldest son, she always hoped that he would read more, learn to conduct himself in society, and manage family affairs. Initially, She had consented to allow the child to practice martial arts because Lan Shu had said all the children were training for the sake of strengthening their bodies and maintaining health. Otherwise, she would be reluctant to let Lu Pingan be engrossed in martial arts training. I mentioned it to Mom before. Not only did she refuse, but she also said that I'm not getting any younger and asked me what I think of Sister Schwer. But I've always seen Sister Schwer as if she were my own sister. Lu Pingan said, feeling helpless. The Sister Schwer he referred to was named Li Schwer, the daughter of Li Feiyu. She was 2 years younger than Lu Pingan, gentle and sensible, also favored by Lu Lanshu. Therefore, she also wished for this young girl to become her daughter-in-law. However, your mother is also right, you're indeed not young anymore. Lan Shu stroked his chin and said, in this world, being married at 16 was considered normal. Although Li Schwer was still a little young, Lan Shu had brought up the matter to set things in motion early on. Dad? Upon hearing this, Lu Pingan's face immediately fell. All right, you'll talk to her about your mom's side in a bit. However, it's true that you're old enough to start considering these things. If you don't like Schwer, that's fine. After all, you grew up together. When you go out to travel in the Jianghu in the future, if you meet a girl you like, be sure to bring her back, you understand? Lan Shu said cheerfully. Although his children's children would also bring benefits to him, he might even be eligible for system achievement rewards. But Lan Shu would not pressure his children to marry and have children. If they were willing, that would be the best. He would give them considerable support and substantial rewards. If they didn't want to, he wouldn't force them, just letting things take their natural course. Yes, Dad. Seeing his father also address the matter, Lu Pingan's face showed resignation, as if he had deflated. Don't look so down. Dad's not forcing you, just don't let a good match pass you by. Let's go, I'll talk to your mother. Lan Shu, seeing his son like this, gave the boy's head an affectionate yet exasperated tap. He suddenly understood the feelings of parents who urged their children to marry. If Lu Pingan wasn't getting married now, he wouldn't be in a hurry or worried. After all, he was still young. He had several children too. But if his children grew older and he only had 1 or 2 kids, then surely he would be a bit anxious. Soon after, the two of them came to the backyard. Lan Shu looked towards his wife Lu Lanshu. Lu Lanshu was the same age as him. They had been married for nearly 17 years now. Although she didn't look as youthful as he did, still in his 20s, she had taken beautifying elixirs and, thanks to the nourishment of spirit rice over a long period, her skin was white and delicate, her face as tender and lovely as a lotus flower, relatively untouched by the traces of time. Her figure was also slender and graceful, showing no signs of having given birth to 3 children. My lord, Pingan. Lu Lanshu, seeing her husband and son, walked forward gracefully. Her hair was neatly coiffed, adorned with a jade hairpin on the side. Dressed in a light turquoise palace gown, she exuded an air of dignified grace. As the wife of Lan Shu, she had come to manage many affairs of the Lu residence, developing an air of majestic elegance. Lan Shu, I already know about what's concerning Pingan. He's not young anymore. Since he wants to go out and see the world, let's allow him. Lan Shu looked at his wife, taking her hand, and spoke warmly. He understood his wife's sentiments. She hoped that Lu Pingan would inherit the family's secular business. Upon hearing this, Lu Lanshu immediately glared at her son, causing Lu Pingan to lower his head, unable to look at his mother. She bit her lip and said, My lord, I really can't rest at ease with Pingan's character. If he goes out, who knows what will happen with all the fighting and killing out there? Her reluctance to let Lu Pingan go out was not solely because she wanted her son to settle down early and take over the family business, but also because she knew what her son was like, easy to take advantage of and too naive for the outside world. Lan Shu, I understand how you feel. You hope for Pingan to be safe and sound. I, too, wish for Pingan to always be safe, which was why I chose his name with that intention. But an eagle must eventually soar to the heavens, facing the abyss, the winds and the waves, alone. It's an essential part of growing up. Although Pingan could avoid these experiences, it's also a good thing if he's willing to face them. That way, I can trust him with more responsibilities in the future. Lan Shu smiled gently, speaking to his wife. After a bit of casual conversation, Lu Lanshu finally nodded in agreement. Though it was extremely hard for her to let go, if Lan Shu spoke up, she couldn't continue to object. After all, Lan Shu was the head of the family. Chapter 395. Xiaoxia is pregnant, revealing second-rank talisman making. _1. At the Lu residence's back courtyard, the training ground. This is a low-grade attack talisman. Activate it with your true qi, then shoot it towards the target. Lu Changxing took out a stack of talismans, letting his son Lu Pingon get acquainted with their use. Since the child was going to travel far, as a father, he naturally prepared some self-defense measures. This was also one of the reasons he had Lu Pingon break through to Martial Dao Innate before leaving. Once Martial Dao Innate is achieved, a martial artist's true qi can also activate first-grade, middle-grade, and low-grade talismans. Yes, Dad. After hearing this, Lu Pingon took a fire bullet talisman and activated it with his true qi. Instantly, the talisman transformed into a fire bullet and shot towards the iron target ahead. With a bang, the iron target melted from the hit of the fire bullet. Hiss, such formidable power. If I were to be hit by this fire bullet, I fear I'd turn to ash. Lu Pingon was surprised at the fire bullet's power, his eyes filled with shock. He knew cultivators were very formidable, but he had never seen a cultivator's methods before. Now seeing the power of a simple talisman, he couldn't help but be astonished. That's why when you're out and about, if you encounter a cultivator, you must be extremely careful. If you meet a cultivator and there's no mortal enmity, you can also mention Qingzhou Mountain's name, Lu Changxing said. Although Qingzhou Mountain was only a foundation establishment family, such cultivation families still held a certain reputation and prestige in the secular world. Just like before, Hong Yi had also heard of Qingzhou Mountain's renown. Dad, I understand, Lu Pingon nodded earnestly. This is a fire cloud talisman. You must be very careful when using this talisman, otherwise, it's easy to injure yourself. This is a rejuvenation insignia. If you're injured, you can use the rejuvenation insignia to stop the bleeding and heal wounds. This is a wooden shield talisman, which can transform into a wooden shield for defense. This is a windwalking talisman. If you encounter danger, you can use it on yourself or on your horse to speed up. These types of talismans belong to the defensive and assistance category. They won't hurt you, so you don't need to be so cautious. Lu Changxing informed his son about the remaining types of talismans and reminded him to remember their effects. Dad, these many talismans, aren't they very expensive? Lu Pingon, seeing the thick stack of talismans his father had, probably 40 or 50 sheets, asked. Although he didn't understand much about cultivation, he occasionally interacted with those involved in that world and knew that cultivation materials were very precious. Have you forgotten that your dad is a talisman master? Lu Changxing gave his son a tap on the head. After Lu Pingon practiced using each kind of talisman and understood their effects, Lu Changxing handed him several vials and pots. They contained elixirs for healing wounds, recharging energy, among others. Although they were nothing to cultivators, they were all treasures within the secular world. This pendant has a calming and protective effect. Remember, if this pendant activates automatically, you must run away immediately, understand? This soft armor is impenetrable by blade or spear, and it also has a protective effect. Remember to wear it against your skin at all times. Lu Changxing then took out 2 magic artifacts. These 2 artifacts were also carefully selected from those he had acquired at the Red Leaf Valley Market before. He didn't give more, not because he was reluctant to do so. One reason was to not attract attention. These 2 artifacts could be worn on the body without others easily noticing. Moreover, most magic artifacts required mana to activate. Martial artists simply couldn't employ magic artifacts. Having these 2 was enough. Thank you, Dad. Lu Pingon looked at the purple jade pendant and the silkworm soft armor in front of him, his face showing joy. I don't need to elaborate the principle of not showing wealth, right? Lu Changxing spoke out. Dad, rest assured I understand these things. Lu Pingon used a nod to convey his understanding. Let's go, let's pick out a good horse at your Uncle Hong's, Lu Changxing said to his son. They then went to the Rui Marquis mansion, where he caught up and chatted with Hong Yi. He talked about his son Lu Pingon and also about his son Lu Wuyu, asking Hong Yi to make arrangements. Hearing these words, Hong Yi naturally agreed to each request with pleasure. After staying in Rui Prefecture for more than half a month, sorting out various family matters, Lu Changxing finally took Bai Ling back to Qingzhou Mountain. 2 months later. Red Leaf Valley Market. Inside a cave dwelling, Lu Changxing and Xianxia finished dual cultivation. Pop! Xianxia rose and sat cross-legged, her visage cool, pure, majestic, and utterly sacred. Her ice-fleshed and jade-boned figure, with undertones of rosiness, looked like a fairy's form, a perfectly crafted work of art, too beautiful for words, bathed in a faint moonlight glow. Her graceful and elegant composure was filled with a holy air. Seeing this, Lu Changxing knew that Xiaoxia's Dao Foundation flaw had been perfected through his efforts and was now flawless. At that moment, with the Dao Foundation restored, a mysterious transformation had started happening to it, beginning to evolve. He sat quietly by her side, waiting for Xiaoxia to awaken. Time passed slowly. Half a month later, the long-lashed, meditating Xiaoxia fluttered her eyelids and slowly opened her cool moon-like eyes. Changxing, seeing Lu Changxing in front of her, her eyes immediately softened. Shiyu, congratulations, Lu Changxing said with a faint smile, sensing the subtle changes in her aura, aware that her Dao Foundation had evolved. It's all thanks to Lu Lang. Xiaoxia's eyes brimmed with happiness, her gaze tender and joyful. A Dao Foundation is the basis of one's cultivation. The more robust the Dao Foundation, the further one can go in the future. Now, not only was her Taiyin mysterious Moon Dao Foundation flawlessly repaired, it had also experienced a mysterious change under the baptism of the yin-yang energies, advancing even further. Chapter 396. Xiaoxia is pregnant, revealing second-rank talisman making. Naturally, it filled her with unparalleled joy. Hee, this is our joint effort. Lu Changxing smiled. Then, curious, he asked, Shiyu, what transformation has your Dao Foundation undergone? My Dao Foundation is now known as the Lunar Primordial Spirit Foundation. It allows me to absorb and refine nature's spiritual energy at an increased rate. And I can consume my origin source to transform nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana for my own replenishment. Xiaoxia spoke out, describing the effects of her Dao Foundation's transformation. The increased rate of absorbing and refining nature's spiritual energy, and the ability to consume the origin source to transform nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana. Hearing this, Lu Changxing nodded his head. He knew this effect sounded simple, but it was astonishing. The speed of absorbing and refining nature's spiritual energy improved both Xiaoxia's cultivation speed and recovery rate. And converting nature's spiritual energy into lunar mana meant that in times of crisis, when mana was low, she could replenish it quickly. After all, not all cultivators were like him, with a profound origin bead at their side, free to use mana as they pleased. Most cultivators had to consider their mana consumption on a regular basis. Between two cultivators of the same rank, the one with deeper and more enduring mana would have a greater advantage. Not bad, it seems much more powerful than my yin-yang 5 elements foundation base. Lu Changxing said cheerfully. How could it compare to Lu Lang? Xiaoxia leaned her pretty head against Lu Changxing's chest and whispered softly. Indeed, after its transformation, her Dao Foundation produced remarkable effects. But to her, the effects of Lu Changxing's Dao Foundation, which could repair someone else's Dao Foundation, were even more astonishing. Shiyu, what are your plans next? Lu Changxing inquired of Xiaoxia. From their previous conversation, he knew Xiaoxia had come down the mountain on an approved mission for external experience. She couldn't stay out forever. Now that her Dao Foundation's cracks were mended, she was likely preparing to return to the sect. Xiaoxia was holding Lu Changxing's slender and jade-like palm, comparing the sizes of their hands. Upon hearing this, she lifted her pretty head and, with a pitiable look, said, "Is Lu Lang finding me bothersome, wanting to send me away?" "I never said that. I'd actually prefer you to stay by my side forever," Lu Changsheng said with a light chuckle, sniffing the fragrance from Xiaoxia's hair. "Umph." Xiaoxia let out a coquettish grunt, her fair cheeks blushing as she spoke softly. "Lu Lang, wouldn't it be nice if she bore you a child?" "What?" Lu Changxing was taken aback, thinking he had heard wrong. But he immediately guessed Xiaoxia's thoughts. Did she feel that she couldn't repay the favor and wanted to have his child as compensation? There's no need for that. Lu Changxing frowned slightly. He did fancy the idea of having a few children with Xiaoxia. See what the children's spiritual root talent would be. But feelings develop over time. After so many years together, they had built quite a relationship. To bear children simply to repay a debt of gratitude, he was unwilling to do so. Moreover, a child and the child's mother were things he could distinguish between. "It's not about repaying Lu Lang's favor with this. I just genuinely want to have a child with Lu Lang. That way, even if Xiyu is gone in the future, this child can stay by Lu Lang's side." Xiaoxia pursed her lips and spoke softly, sharing her thoughts. Back in Qingyun Market, Lu Changxing had jokingly said if she felt bad, they should have a few children. After hearing that, the idea planted itself in her heart and started to grow. Gradually, she began to feel there was sense in what Lu Changxing had said. Have a child to commemorate their relationship. If she were gone, the child would remain by Lu Changsheng's side for companionship. As for concerns about leaving and the child lacking a mother, she had come to terms with it. Firstly, with Lu Changxing around, the child would surely not be bullied. Additionally, it wasn't as if she would sever all ties with Lu Changxing and leave after giving birth. Only when preparing to attempt core formation would she need to truly penetrate the void of delusions and forget all attachments. She would still get to watch the child grow up. Furthermore, after all her experiences, she came to believe that forgetting all attachments didn't necessarily mean completely abandoning love and affection. If you have a child, won't your master blame you?" Lu Changxing voiced his concern. Having a child was an affair that wasn't too problematic for female cultivators, though it still had significant impacts. 3 months into pregnancy, cultivation would become nearly impossible. In the later stages, it would affect their cultivation level, leaving them in a weakened state. And after giving birth, they'd need to recover their vital energy for about a year or so. While the impact might seem negligible, for cultivators, the nature of this was different. After all, the prime age for giving birth is also the best age for cultivation. If they have several children, that time could be considered wasted. It would require much effort to make up for the lost time. And Lu Changxing felt her master would blame her for a simple reason. The relationship between a master and disciple in this world was very intimate, like that of parents. Any parent seeing their child with a promising future suddenly have a baby might feel discontent, especially within an immortal sect like Qingyun sect. This was not just about having a child, but also about the disciple's heart for cultivation and worldly attachments. "Well, just keep it a secret from my master," Xiaoxia said, her eyes downcast and her voice slightly guilty. She didn't dare let her master, Yun Wansheng, know about this matter. After all, she had previously sworn adamantly that she could break free from all ties with Lu Changxing. Chapter 397. If Master knew how deep I've fallen, that I'm even having a child with Lu Changxing, I dare not even imagine what she would do. Even if Master dotes on me, she would probably be furious. What if your master finds out? Lu Changxing looked at Xiaoxia with a smile and said, If you don't want to, then forget it." Xiaoxia retorted with a snort. It took her a great deal of courage to say these words. After so many years of anticipation, she had waited until the day her Dao foundation was fully repaired to tell Lu Changxing. "Willing, I'm naturally willing." Lu Changxing chuckled lightly, leaned down gently, and captured Xiaoxia's lips. Now that she had expressed her feelings so clearly, he had no reservations anymore. Having a child, it would add yet another bond between him and Xianxia, another concern. In the following time, Lu Changxing spent most of his days in the Hongye marketplace, devoting himself to Xianxia. Perhaps because both were foundation establishment cultivators, getting pregnant was much more difficult. After over a month of effort without any reaction, having no other choice, Lu Changxing had to resort to his secret technique, the 5 aggregates proliferation method. This secret method could be practiced by men to increase the likelihood of pregnancy. Women could also practice it to boost their chances. Both partners cultivating together would naturally double the effect. Changxing, I think I'm pregnant. And so, after another month of effort, Xianxia felt the signs of pregnancy and happily told Lu Changxing, "We're pregnant." At her words, delight immediately shone on Lu Changxing's face. Xianxia had a 4th grade spiritual root and a moonlight spirit body and was also a foundation establishment cultivator. He too was a foundation establishment cultivator, with a 5th grade spiritual root and a Gingjin spirit body. Under such conditions, the chances were high that the child would be extraordinarily talented. Therefore, regarding the child in Xiaoxia's womb, he couldn't help but harbor some expectations. He looked forward to the child bringing them surprises. Very good, Xiyu. Take extra care of yourself from now on. Is there anything in particular you want to eat? Lu Changxing said warmly. I know. Seeing Lu Changxing so happy and excited, Xiaoxia couldn't help but show a slightly annoyed smile on her gorgeous face. She thought to herself that Lu Changxing truly loved children. Normally, when they were together, she seldom saw him so thrilled and excited. Afterward, Lu Changxing spent some time chatting with Xiaoxia, mentioning some prenatal care tips. He took her out of the cave dwelling to stroll around the streets and relax. After all, now that she was pregnant, maintaining both physical and mental health was a must. As a 2nd-rank talisman master, it's about time I made it known. After spending time with Xiaoxia, Lu Changxing considered his progress in talisman making. He felt that the time was about right. Now that Xiaoxia was pregnant, he would need to devote more thought to this matter, and there was no point in delaying any further. Being a 2nd-rank talisman master would make acting more convenient. Soon after, Lu Changxing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. After a chat with Lu Miaoge and some conversation, he entered the talisman room and began crafting talismans. After a long while, Lu Changxing stepped out of the talisman room with a newly crafted 2nd-rank talisman in hand, a look of excitement and joy on his face. Sister Miaoge, I did it. I've successfully crafted a 2nd-rank talisman. Lu Changxing stated, his face lit up with joy and excitement. He handed the 2nd-rank talisman he held to Lu Miaoge for inspection. A 2nd-rank talisman? Changxing, you've succeeded. Lu Miaoge, her delicate and gentle features first stunned, then lit up with excitement too. She had always kept an eye on Lu Changxing's progress in talisman crafting. Knowing that he was just one step away from becoming a 2nd-rank talisman master, she believed fervently that he could take that step. But hearing now that Lu Changxing had advanced to a 2nd-rank talisman master still felt surreal, causing an irrepressible excitement and joy. After all, the difference between 1st grade and 2nd rank was like a chasm, vast as that between qi refinement and foundation establishment. Now, having crossed this chasm and ascending from 1st grade to 2nd-rank talisman master, how could she, his wife, not be thrilled? Changxing, I always knew you could do it, that you would make it. Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changxing with sparkling eyes, full of tenderness and love. This time was just a fluke. But I believe, with time, I will be able to fully master this 2nd-rank Thunder Fire Talisman. Lu Changxing spoke, his voice carrying a hint of confidence. He, too, considered himself somewhat accomplished by now. If he kept being too modest, always speaking of luck, it would seem fake. Yes, I believe you can do it, Changxing. I'll go and inform the family head, 4th elder, and our ancestors about this news, Lu Miaoge said excitedly. Advancing to 2nd-rank talisman master was an event that would merit a celebration for the whole Qingzhou Mountain. I'll return to Qingzhou Mountain in a few days. So I'll tell Grandma myself when the time comes. Lu Changxing said with a smile. He could imagine the fourth elder's feelings upon hearing about his promotion to second-rank talisman master. The old man had always believed in him and eagerly anticipated the day he would become a second-rank talisman master. "All right, it is best for you to tell Grandma in person." Lu Miaoga nodded, her face still beaming with happiness. She also knew that the fourth elder would be overjoyed to hear the news. Once she calmed her emotions, she began examining the second-rank Thunderfire talisman in Lu Changsheng's hands. The lines on the talisman were not as smoothly executed as they could be, and the spiritual power was a bit unstable, making it seem slightly rough. But it was indeed a genuine second-rank talisman. Lu Miaoga held it in her hands, examining it over and over. The more she looked, the happier she became. Seeing his wife so, Lu Changsheng felt a deep satisfaction in his heart. Chapter 398, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. _1. 3 days later, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga returned to Qingzhou Mountain. Husband, Sister Miaoga. Dad, Mom Annie. Seeing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga return, the wives and children of the Lu family instantly created a commotion. Reunions with family were always bustling, and after chatting and eating a meal together, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga stood up to pay their respects to the fourth elder. They were prepared to share the news of becoming a second-rank talisman master with the fourth elder. "Yuner, call little Yuner and come visit Grandma with me." Lu Changsheng also called for his wife, Lu Miaoyun, and son, Lu Yun. Lately, the fourth elder's favorite had been her own son, Lu Yun. Lu Yun had also turned 12, and 2 months earlier he had begun qi refinement, achieving the induction of qi into the body. Now, he had 4 children who had begun cultivation, achieving the induction of qi into the body. But there was no new achievement reward triggered. This made Lu Changsheng quietly wonder in his heart if the number had to reach 10 to trigger subsequent draws. At the same time, he was curious if his children could obtain a draw reward if they broke through to the middle stage of qi refinement. "Yes, husband." Lu Miaoyun was not at all surprised. Every time Lu Changsheng returned, he would pay a visit to the fourth elder. She immediately called over her son Lu Yun. However, hearing the news, their daughter Lu Yu also followed along. Facing this, she naturally wouldn't refuse and brought along the several children. The group arrived at the fourth elder's courtyard. "Changsheng Yuner, Miaoga, why have all of you come?" The fourth elder, with her hair elegantly coiffed into a silver bun, was dressed in a deep azure robe, basking in the sun in the backyard. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng and the others, a smile immediately graced her face. "We've come to see you," Lu Changsheng said with a smile. "Great-grandma." The children approached the elderly woman and sweetly called out, "Ah, my dears." The fourth elder looked at the children with a kindly smile, touched their heads, and retrieved spirit fruits and sweet treats from her storage bag. The butler Zizhu also came forward with tea. The family chatted with the elder. "Changsheng, how are your talisman-making skills these days?" After chatting for a while, the fourth elder inquired about Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill. This was something she always cared to ask about every time. She worried that Lu Changsheng might divert his attention and neglect the talisman path. "Grandma, I came here this time to tell you that I've successfully drawn a second-rank talisman." Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. "What, Changsheng, you've advanced to second-rank talisman master." The fourth elder was shocked and incredulous upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words. Lu Miaoyun and the children at her side were also surprised and incredulously happy, looking at their husband and father. They naturally understood what successfully drawing a second-rank talisman signified. It meant that Lu Changsheng had stepped into second rank, essentially becoming a second-rank talisman master. Currently, there was not a single second-rank talisman master in all of Qingzhou Mountain. Yet now, their husband and father had become a second-rank talisman master. The news filled them with boundless joy and pride. "Yes, Grandma. A few days ago, I was fortunate to successfully draw a Thunder-Fire talisman. So after arranging marketplace affairs with Sister Miaoga, I came back to tell you the news." Lu Changxing said to the elder before him. After speaking, he handed over the Thunder Fire talisman he had successfully drawn for the fourth elder to examine. The fourth elder took the Thunder Fire talisman, inspecting it carefully and with great interest in her hands. The several youngsters, although they did not understand, were curious and piqued at the talisman. They had never seen a second-rank talisman before. Good, good, good. Changxing, you haven't let Grandma down. After examining the talisman for a while, the fourth elder took a deep breath and expressed her approval repeatedly, her face beaming with joy and unable to contain her happiness. At her age, she had already seen and let go of many things. The only things she still kept in mind were the prosperity of the family and the accomplishments of her descendants. Lu Changxing, as her grandson-in-law, had been treated like her own grandson and was laden with her high expectations. Now, seeing that her beloved grandson had achieved the rank of second-rank talisman master, she was truly delighted from the bottom of her heart. This is also thanks to your continuous guidance, Grandma, as well as the second-rank heritage and annotations on talisman making you gave me. Otherwise, Changxing wouldn't have been able to reach this step so quickly. Lu Changxing said with a beaming smile. Hee, you don't have to flatter Grandma, spouting these nice words. The fact that you've reached this step is all thanks to your own efforts and talent. The help Grandma can offer is limited. The fourth elder said with a laugh. She naturally knew that Lu Changxing was flattering her. After all, she had never been stingy with her guidance and teaching for Lu Miaoge. Initially, she had even invested more effort in Lu Miaoge. Yet compared to Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoge was clearly no match. Have you told the family head about this matter? The fourth elder asked aloud. Not yet. Sister Miaoge and I just got back not long ago and came straight here to tell you the news. Lu Changxing replied. Changxing, that's very thoughtful of you. Such a joyous occasion also needs to be reported to the family head and the elders, so the family can hold a grand celebration. The fourth elder said, holding her grandson-in-law's hand with a face full of gratification. Now that the family had produced a second-rank talisman master, they wouldn't keep it under wraps. A grand celebration was in order. Perhaps even a grand ceremony, inviting neighboring families, spreading the news far and wide, to elevate the family's prestige. A grand celebration for this seems a bit much. Lu Changxing said with a twitch in his mouth upon hearing this. He hadn't expected that merely advancing to a second-rank talisman master would warrant a grand ceremony. Usually, at least a breakthrough to foundation establishment would warrant such a grand ceremony. It's necessary. This is about becoming a second-rank talisman master, our Lu family's very first. It must be celebrated properly. Chapter 399. Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. The fourth elder said with a chuckle. Then he looked at Lu Miaoge and said, Miaoge, how is your talisman making going now? Fourth Grandma, I am also preparing to try drawing second-rank talismans, Lu Miaoge said with a gentle smile. Under Lu Changxing's usual guidance and teaching, she had also made continuous progress in talisman making. Now, in the realm of 1st grade, she belonged to the top-level talisman masters and could attempt to practice second-rank talismans. Very good, very good. You and Changxing should communicate more. Who knows, maybe our Lu family will have 2 second-grade talisman masters in the future, the fourth elder said, feeling somewhat excited at the thought. Although a second-grade talisman master wasn't as prestigious as a foundation establishment great cultivator, their status and identity were still extraordinary. Even foundation establishment great cultivators would show them some respect. If Qingzhou Mountain had 2 second-grade talisman masters stationed there, it would rise and prosper even more. Don't worry, Grandma, Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge said to the elder with a smile, nodding their agreement. Congratulations to my husband on advancing to second-grade talisman master. At this moment, Lu Miaoyun also beamed with joy as she congratulated Lu Changxing. Looking at her handsome husband before her, she couldn't help but remember how, when Lu Changxing became a middle-grade talisman master, the family had arranged for her to marry him. More than a decade had passed in the blink of an eye. The once son-in-law of the Lu family had become a family elder, advancing to second-grade talisman master. This filled her heart with joy, but also with a tinge of melancholy. Feeling that her husband was so powerful and outstanding, yet her own cultivation level was still stuck at the bottleneck of the 6th-level energy refinement, and she hardly had any way to help Lu Changxing. "Congratulations, Daddy. Congratulations, Daddy." The children nearby also immediately congratulated Lu Changxing. "Ah, very good, very good," Lu Changxing laughed and nodded. "Let's go, Changxing. It'll take you to see the ancestor," the 4th elder said, eager to announce the news to Lu Yuanzhong. "Yes, Grandma," Lu Changxing replied, as it was his first time seeing the elder in such a state, so he went along with her. Straight away, the 4th elder took Lu Changxing to the Qingzhou Great Hall to see the family head, Lu Miaocheng. "What? Changxing, you've advanced to second-grade talisman master." The new family head of the Lu family was equally overjoyed at the news of Lu Changxing's advancement. After all, the addition of a second-grade talisman master meant an increase in the depth of the Lu family's resources. It would not only make the business of the Lu family's spirit talisman shop better, but it would also add to their external deterrence. Moreover, they could attract some talisman master guest elders to serve the family through Lu Changxing, the second-grade talisman master. Immediately, he was thrilled and excited to send a message to Lu Yuanzhong. This foundation establishment ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, spent most of his days cultivating in seclusion deep in Qingzhou Valley. Except for major family matters or events like previously in Red Leaf Valley, such as auctions, he rarely went out. Soon after, an escape light from the depths of Qingzhou Valley flew towards them. It was the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong. Through his foundation establishment late-stage divine sense, Lu Changxing recognized the ancestor's cultivation level at a glance. Foundation establishment 2nd level. Considering the time, it was within expectations. It had been over 7 years since the great battle between the Lu family and the Chen family. And by that time, Lu Yuanzhong had already broken through to foundation establishment. Now, 7 or 8 years later, advancing from the 1st level to the 2nd level of foundation establishment was quite normal. After all, like energy refinement, the small realms of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd level of foundation establishment did not have bottlenecks. It was only when advancing from the 3rd to the 4th level, from the early to the middle stage of foundation establishment, that bottlenecks were encountered. 4th Aunt, Changxing, you are here too. Is there something wrong? Lu Yuanzhong asked as he looked at everyone. Although he was the Lu family ancestor, he didn't usually put on airs in private. Ancestor, Lu Miaocheng immediately relayed the information about Lu Changxing becoming a second-grade talisman master to Lu Yuanzhong. A second-grade talisman master. Very good, excellent. Lu Yuanzhong, the foundation establishment ancestor, repeated, his eyes shining with delight as he praised the news. As the family's foundation establishment ancestor, the pressure on him was immense. The entire family relied on him for support. He could not afford the slightest accident. If anything happened to him, the whole family would be affected. Now, with Lu Changxing as a second-grade talisman master, at least the family's outward circumstances would improve. After all, it was success with the Red Leaf Valley Chen family that made them, and defeat by them as well. Initially, by relying on the defeat of the Chen family to establish the Red Leaf Valley marketplace, the family gained a batch of spirit stone resources, setting them on an upward trajectory. But also because of this, Red Leaf Valley marketplace was targeted by many forces. If the Lu family encountered any trouble, those people would pounce like fierce tigers. Changxing, the joyous occasion of your advancement to second-grade talisman master naturally calls for a grand celebration, Lu Yuanzhong declared. How about we choose an auspicious day to hold a ceremony, invite guests far and wide, and celebrate properly? He suggested, looking at Lu Changxing. His thoughts aligned with the 4th elders. He hoped Lu Changxing would hold a grand ceremony to announce it far and wide. To make sure the neighboring families knew that the Lu family had a second-grade talisman master in residence. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't say anything. If it were up to him, he wouldn't really want to make such a fuss. After all, it was only a second-grade talisman master. No need for such splendor. But looking at Lu Yuanzhong, the fourth elder, and Lu Miaocheng, he roughly understood their thoughts and meanings. The current situation of the Lu family required a raise in the family's prestige. A second-grade talisman master could bring a significant increase in prestige for the Lu family. Ancestor, although I've successfully drawn a second-rank talisman, the success rate is too low, so I don't consider myself a true second-grade talisman master, Lu Changxing said. Therefore, in my view, the matter of this grand ceremony is not urgent, he concluded. Chapter 400, Grand Ceremony Celebration, promoted to 4th grade spiritual root. Once I'm more familiar with second-rank talismans and my success rate in talisman making improves, it won't be too late to hold the ceremony. Lu Changxing mused for a moment. Since a grand ceremony was involved, there could be disruptions with people causing trouble, provocation, or even questioning it. Although he was equipped with second-grade talisman-making skills and feared no challenges or doubts, it wouldn't be good to show his remarkable abilities too soon after becoming a second-grade talisman master. Therefore, he would wait and, should such a situation arise, he would be better prepared to address it. All right, let's follow Changsheng's suggestion. Just let Miaocheng know when you're ready, Lu Yuanzhong said, nodding his head upon hearing this. He found Lu Changsheng's words to make sense. Good, Changxing, just let me know when you're ready, Lu Miaocheng immediately nodded and said. He also mentioned that if Lu Changxing needed to draw from the family's talisman-making materials, he could simply speak to him directly. As for the other benefits, since Lu Changxing was already a family elder, there was no way to promote him further. They could only increase his monthly supply of materials for second-grade talisman making. To this, Lu Changxing didn't have much to say. He was aware that a family's resources were limited and that they couldn't completely dedicate them to supporting one person's advancement to second-grade talisman master. That night, Yuner, what's on your mind? Lu Changxing noticed that his wife, Lu Miaoyun, seemed to be preoccupied with thoughts. Husband, am I useless? Lu Miaoyun looked up with pursed lips and asked. Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, had a hunch that his revealing of being a second-grade talisman master today might have put pressure on Lu Miaoyun, making her feel insecure, so he couldn't help but think more about it. He immediately reassured his wife by holding her delicate shoulders, saying, How could that be? If it wasn't for you managing our home so well, how could I focus on cultivating the talisman path with such ease? You shouldn't overthink it. We are husband and wife, bound to progress together for the rest of our lives. Lu Changxing embraced his wife, comforting her with his warm voice. Despite typically being knowledgeable and sensible, the epitome of the wise matron managing the household well, Lu Changxing knew that Lu Miaoyun was actually of a more delicate and gentle nature. Now, facing his situation, she, as his wife, felt some pressure, which made him think further. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's moist and glossy lips barely parted as she stared blankly at her own husband. Your husband is here, always by your side. Don't overthink things. If you have something on your mind, just speak to me about it directly. Lu Changxing looked at her face, beautiful as the blooming flowers, and spoke with a tender voice. He wasn't a heartless man. Although marrying and having children were parts of his life, he would still fulfill his responsibilities. A virtuous wife supports my lofty aspirations. In turn, I'll reward my virtuous wife with a wealth of gold. Husband. Lu Miaoyun's eyelashes trembled slightly as she called out softly, nestling into Lu Changsheng's embrace. Let's sleep. Lu Changsheng chuckled softly, revealing his wife's previously cute and naive side. Emchim. As Lu Miaoyun heard his words, she softly replied, the tick-tock of her lashes indicating her tranquil state as she gradually fell asleep. Lu Changxing watched his petite, lovely wife in his arms, listening to her steady breathing, feeling a profound sense of peace in his heart. Time flew like water, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. On this day, Lu Changxing was accompanying Xianxia on a stroll through the streets. Being 6 months pregnant, Xianxia's belly was quite obvious now. And as the pregnancy progressed, this normally aloof and pure fairy of the Moon Palace was no longer as indifferent as before. She would occasionally touch her protruding belly with a look of maternal radiance on her face. "Changxing, the baby is kicking me," Xiaoxia said, acting coquettishly to Lu Changxing as she felt the baby's movements. "All right, I've noted it, and once he is born, I'll discipline him for you." Lu Changxing immediately stroked the fairy's jade-like belly, speaking softly. "Humph, what kind of father holds a grudge against his own child?" Xiaoxia said, pinching Lu Changxing in response. "If someone bullies my wife, of course, I'll hold a grudge." Lu Changxing hummed. Just then, a mysterious tremor came, accompanied by the sound of a system notification. "Congratulations, host. For reaching a count of 35 descendants with spiritual roots, you have earned one lottery opportunity." This mysterious vibration was not a fleeting one. Rather, it caused a tremor throughout his body, filling Lu Changxing's heart with an indescribable joy. He knew that his spiritual root had ascended. It had advanced from a 5th-grade spiritual root to a 4th-grade spiritual root. This child's spiritual root is at least a 5th grade, and possibly even a 4th grade. Lu Changxing thought to himself with excitement. Previously, he had only 3 descendants with a 6th-grade spiritual root. With such lower-grade spiritual roots, it was somewhat difficult for his own 5th-grade spiritual root to advance to a 4th grade. Now that his own spiritual root had directly advanced to 4th grade, he knew that this child's spiritual root was exceptionally good. "It's about time. After having 141 children, I've finally had a stroke of good luck," Lu Changxing muttered to himself. However, glancing at Xiaoxia beside him, he held his peace, reined in his spirit, and pretended as if nothing had happened, continuing to stroll with her casually. After the two had wandered for another half an hour, they returned to their cave dwelling. And at that time, Lu Changxing went to the quiet room by himself. "System." Lu Changxing mentally called out. Name, Lu Changxing. Identity, 9th Elder of Qingzhou Mountain. Cultivation level, Foundation Establishment, 1st layer. Lifespan, 35/269. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root. Gengjin body constitution, intermediate spiritual body. Cultivation technique, 100 refinements treasure body art. 7 luminaries great freedom sword scripture. Yin-yang harmony technique. Immortal beauty technique. Spells, 7 luminaries sword light. 7 luminaries sword shield. 7 luminaries sword. Escape. Items, 9 treasure jade rui. Luminous treasure tree. Golden armor bean mother. Black dragon magical bead. Book of malevolent curses and fates. Life substituting talisman. Profound origin bead. Coagulation crystal elixir. Skills, talisman making, 2nd rank. Puppetry, 2nd rank. Spirit slaughterer, 2nd rank. Spiritual pets, 9 netherhound. Peach blossom goo. 6-winged golden silkworm. Hope goo. Descendants, 141 of 144. A 4th grade spiritual root. Just one more step, and he'll have an upper grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing looked at the accurately displayed 4th grade spiritual root on the system panel, feeling elated. Then he glanced at the descendants section. With a slight move of his spirit, he found his newly born child. Name, unnamed. Lifespan, 179th. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root. Cultivation level, none. A 4th grade spiritual root. It really is a 4th grade. Lu Changxing looked at this child with great surprise. He had previously guessed that this child was at least a 5th grade spiritual root, and possibly even a 4th grade. Now, seeing it confirmed on the system panel, he was finally assured. With a 4th grade spiritual root, apart from Qingshan, this child has the best talent among all my children. Lu Changxing was very pleased. The most talented of his children was originally Lu Qingshan with a 6th grade spiritual root, who possessed the Gengjin body constitution. This child's 4th grade spiritual root, although not as good as Lu Qingshan's, was still quite excellent. He believed that with his guidance, this child would have no trouble achieving foundation establishment in the future. A 4th grade spiritual root, if I so desire, I could even consider sending him to an immortal sect later. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Although he felt capable of nurturing the child himself, he also entertained the idea of diversifying. Some children he could cultivate at home, others he could send to immortal sects. This approach not only saved resources and provided better growth environments for the children, but could also expand the family's network of connections. Moreover, sending a child to the Qingyun sect would mean Xiaoxia could help look after them. However, there's a downside to everything. Sending children to immortal sects would undoubtedly diminish their proximity and connection to the family. And sending them to immortal sects with all the competition and sect responsibilities, it may not necessarily be better than being in the family. Well, that's still a ways off, no need to rush. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly, not dwelling on the matter. Mentally, he said, "System, draw the lottery." Since he was entitled to a lottery, he naturally wouldn't hold on to it, instead planning to use it right away. Immediately, the system's attribute panel blurred and transformed into the familiar lottery wheel. Draw the lottery. Looking at the lottery wheel, Lu Changsheng's spirit stirred as he began to participate in the draw. Chapter 401. 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. _1. Ding. Congratulations to the host on obtaining the magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The reward has been issued to the system space. The host can check it at any time. The golden light paused at the magical treasures category. Immediately, a black chain with innumerable shadows emerged from the spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Magical treasures? Lu Changsheng looked at the reward he won from the lottery, his eyebrows raising slightly. If it had been before, winning a magical treasure from the lottery would have felt quite nice. But now, with the 9-treasure jade rui, the black dragon magical bead, and 1 magical treasure embryo, the speed of his 100 refinements treasure body art had already reached its peak. He no longer felt anything for magical treasures. After all, with his current foundation establishment cultivation, he couldn't activate a magical treasure. Other than using it for cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, it was practically useless, an utter superfluity. However, one can never have too many magical treasures. Once I reach the late stage of foundation establishment, relying on the profound origin bead, I should almost be able to activate magical treasures. Moreover, magical treasures can also be used by my children. If any of these children can cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art, I can definitely let them infuse the magical treasures into their bodies to assist in their cultivation. Not only would it enable them to advance quickly, but it's also equivalent to me improving. A single magical treasure, double the benefits. Lu Changsheng exhaled softly, murmuring to himself. He planned to imprint the magical treasure into the body of whichever child could cultivate the 100 refinements treasure body art in the future. After all, once the child cultivated, the effects would stack onto himself. The only issue now was that the children were young, and he wasn't quite willing to teach orthodox-level cultivation techniques to outsiders. Moreover, orthodox-level cultivation techniques were not so easy to practice. He had personally taught Lu Miaoga the exquisite-level Saturn Solar Sword technique for nearly half a month before she gained a preliminary understanding. This orthodox-level 100 refinements treasure body technique was countless times more difficult. In the process of cultivation, if there was any carelessness, it could lead to problems and injury to oneself. Therefore, he must be cautious and handle it with care. Sigh, if only I could directly impart cultivation techniques to these children as well. Lu Changsheng sighed in his heart, feeling wistful. After relying on the system to inherit the soul dispersion needle from the Red Phoenix True Scripture, he profoundly appreciated how awesome it was to have techniques directly transmitted by the system. Otherwise, even if he understood all the principles and theories, practicing them was another matter entirely. Without further thought, Lu Changsheng looked toward the system space. He was checking the magical treasure he had just won. Magical treasure, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. Grade, superior quality magical treasure. Description, Ghost celestials sought hundreds of demon warhorses that had battled through many wars and tortured them relentlessly, so that their resentful spirits would soar as they died, their souls not dissipating, and refine them into horses. Eventually, he infused the spirits of 100 horses into the towering pagoda chains, creating the 100 steeds towering pagoda lock. When used against an enemy, the 100 horses charge fiercely, collapsing mountains and tearing the earth asunder, shattering both body and soul of the opponent. Superior quality magical treasure. Looks like it belongs to the demonic path magical treasure. Although the method of refining demonic path magical treasures is quite cruel, their power and effects are generally impressive. But this description really does illustrate the effectiveness. When facing an enemy, upon unleashing the magical treasure, 100 horses barrel through with such force that mountains collapse and the earth splits, scattering the opponent's body and soul. Lu Changxing nodded slightly, examining the description of the magical treasure's effects. But after looking at it a couple of times, he didn't pay it much more attention, letting the magical treasure remain in the system space. He decided to take it out when it was needed in the future. I wonder how much my 4th grade spiritual root has improved compared to before. After the lottery draw, Lu Changxing felt unenthusiastic, thinking about his recently advanced 4th grade spiritual root. He immediately closed his eyes and sat in meditation, with his heart open to heaven, channeling the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. After cultivating for an hour, Lu Changxing opened his eyes and exhaled a turbid breath. From the recent cultivation, he could clearly sense that his speed of cultivation had improved. About 30% compared to before. Although it was only 30%, this effect was already quite remarkable. It allowed his speed of cultivation to increase significantly. Moreover, apart from the speed of cultivation, having a superior spiritual root also made it easier to break through bottlenecks. However, a 4th grade spiritual root only helps with minor bottlenecks. For my current situation, it won't have any noticeable effect on the major bottleneck of core formation in the future. If I could advance my spiritual root to a heavenly spiritual root before core formation, then breaking through would pose no bottleneck at all. Lu Changxing thought to himself. He could not help but look forward to the day when he would be blessed with a stroke of luck, spawning a child with a heavenly spiritual root. That way, his spiritual root would be perfected in one fell swoop, sparing him the slow grind. Shaking his head to dispel these impractical fantasies, Lu Changxing stepped out of the meditation room. After chatting with Xianxia for a while, he left the cave dwelling and went to the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. Daddy! Upon arriving on the 3rd floor, Lu Qingzhu, who was quietly reading a book by herself, saw Lu Changxing and called out sweetly. Little Zhu, where is your mother? Lu Changxing, seeing his daughter alone, showed a gentle smile and asked. His daughter was 6 years old now, even more adorable in appearance. With her chubby and baby-soft cheeks, he couldn't help but pinch them. Mommy is in the room drawing talismans. Lu Qingzhu said in a sweet, milky voice. Guessing that there must be a customer who ordered or needed a specific talisman, Lu Changxing didn't go to disturb Lu Miaoge. He walked over and sat beside his daughter, asking, What are you looking at, little Zhu? Daddy, look. Lu Qingzhu handed the album she was holding to Lu Changxing. Chapter 402, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The Mouse Sees the Sun Again. This is a photo album. Inside is a forest teeming with all sorts of spiritual beasts living and playing. Since it's for young children's enlightenment, these spiritual beasts are relatively mild and adorable. There won't be any ferocious and terrifying demon beasts. Little Zhu, do you know what this is? Lu Changxing asked, pointing to a purple parrot. Lu Qingzhu shook her head with a dazedly cute expression. Then she looked at Lu Changxing with her innocent, wide eyes, waiting for him to introduce it. Lu Changxing smiled at his daughter's antics. He ruffled her little head, which was tied into 2 buns, and said, This is a purple jade parrot. It understands human language and can speak. As he spoke, Lu Changxing tapped the purple jade parrot on the jade scroll. Hello. Immediately, the parrot let out a crisp greeting. Oh, hello. Lu Qingzhu responded with her dazedly cute voice. If little Zhu likes it, Daddy will buy one for you, Lu Changxing said to his daughter, who was exhibiting her adorable behavior. This purple jade parrot was only a low-level demon beast, a type kept for ornamental purposes, and many cultivators domesticated them as pets to keep at home. They were also available for sale in the Red Leaf Valley market. Oh, Daddy, this one, Lu Qingzhu, hearing this, flipped through the album a couple of pages with her little hand, and pointed to a white-furred hamster to show Lu Changxing. Little Zhu, you like this kind? Lu Changxing was taken aback upon hearing this. He hadn't expected his daughter to prefer the white-furred hamster over the talking purple jade parrot. But indeed, the white-furred hamster was quite cute. Its body was snow-white, fluffy, and had an adorable appearance, so it was normal for children to like it. At this moment, he remembered he had a similar-looking golden hamster in his spiritual pet bag. The earth spirit mouse he had gotten from Meng Bai. Since this earth spirit mouse was stolen property, he had always kept it in the spiritual pet bag. Every now and then, he would throw a few spirit-rearing pellets into the bag to feed it. Little Zhu, how about this one? Immediately, Lu Changxing reached into the spiritual pet bag and pulled out the earth spirit mouse. This earth spirit mouse was about the same size as the white-furred hamster in the album, only the size of a palm. With golden fur and a harmlessly cute appearance, it was very adorable. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse, which hadn't breathed fresh air for more than 3 years in the spiritual pet bag, was finally seeing daylight again and started calling out happily. Oh, a mouse! Upon seeing the adorable earth spirit mouse, Lu Qingzhu's sparkling eyes widened even further. Her little head moved slightly forward, and she leaned in to get a closer look at the earth spirit mouse. Behave yourself. Lu Changxing, holding the hamster, gave it a few rubs and conveyed his thoughts to the earth spirit mouse through the beast control token. He clearly remembered that this earth spirit mouse possessed no small amount of spiritual intelligence. It even knew how to acknowledge someone as an adoptive father. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse immediately responded to Lu Changxing. It showed that the mouse was the most well-behaved and sensible one. Lu Changxing believed this as well. He dared to bring this earth spirit mouse out for his daughter to play with because he had researched information about it and knew its temperament. Though it possessed an earth-grade bloodline, it was as timid as a mouse. Aside from running away, it wouldn't really fight. Its primary use was treasure hunting. It had an extremely keen sense of smell for spiritual medicine, heavenly materials and earthly treasures, or even for spirit minerals and spirit veins. It could also sniff a particular medicine, heavenly material, or earthly treasure, and as long as someone had touched the spiritual medicine or treasure within a short period, it could sniff them out. Plainly speaking, it was very sensitive to spiritual energy and spiritual mechanisms. Come here, little Zhu. Lu Changxing spread out his hand, letting his daughter touch the golden hamster. With him beside her, he wasn't worried about how the earth spirit mouse would behave. If it did anything unexpected, he could stop it immediately. Oh! Lu Qingzhu stretched out her delicate little hand and carefully touched the earth spirit mouse. Although the earth spirit mouse was only palm-sized, for an adult that is, to a 6-year-old little girl, it was still quite big. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse played along well, realizing that this scary person brought it to entertain the human child. It immediately rubbed its little head against Lu Qingzhu's small hand. Oh, Daddy! Lu Qingzhu was startled, then grew bolder and petted the earth spirit mouse, calling out to Lu Changxing. Here, you take it. Lu Changxing smiled and handed over the earth spirit mouse to his daughter. Oh! Lu Qingzhu immediately cradled the golden hamster in her hands and rubbed it in her arms, her little face beaming with happiness. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The earth spirit mouse continued to cooperate. Little Zhu, you can feed it this. Lu Changxing took out a bottle of spirit-nourishing pills, poured one out, and handed it to his daughter to feed to the earth spirit mouse. After all, feeding a pet was also a form of joy. Oh! Lu Qingzhu cradled the earth spirit mouse with one arm while feeding it the spirit-nourishing pill with the other. Immediately, the little golden hamster showed its 2 teeth, began nibbling on the elixir medicines, and happily squeaked. In its spiritual pet bag, because Lu Changxing was so busy he had forgotten about it, it often had to go without food. This made it learn to eat the spirit-nourishing pills sparingly. So, getting an extra meal today made it extremely happy. Daddy, look. After a while, Lu Qingzhu watched the earth spirit mouse nibble on the elixir medicines by itself, her mouth forming a surprised, "Oh," and called out to Lu Changxing. "Little Zhu, do you like this mouse?" Lu Changxing asked his daughter. If his daughter said she liked it, he would give this earth spirit mouse to Lu Qingzhu. After all, it was just sitting on him and used, so it would be better if it became a companion for his daughter. His daughter spent most of her time on Qingzhou Mountain and only occasionally visited the Red Leaf Valley Market. Chapter 403, 100 Steeds Towering Pagoda Lock. The mouse sees the sun again. He didn't have to worry about being targeted by Meng Yibai's false core elder. After all, if the elder could really track him down through an earth spirit mouse, he would have already done so. Moreover, although earth spirit mice are rare, they aren't so rare that people would think too much upon seeing one. Daddy, like. Lu Qingzhu looked at the earth spirit mouse in her hand, then turned towards Lu Changxing, her sparkling eyes brimming with affection. Since that's the case, Daddy will give this little mouse to my little Zhu. Lu Changxing said with a smile. Oh, thank you, Daddy. Upon hearing this, Lu Qingzhu's little face showed her happiness. Then she put down the hamster, stood up, and reached out both her arms towards Lu Changxing. Seeing this, Lu Changxing picked up his daughter. Mua! Once picked up, Lu Qingzhu immediately planted a strong kiss on her daddy's face. She knew her daddy liked to kiss her cheeks to show his affection. So she kissed Lu Changxing back to show her affection. Ha, such a good girl, Mua. Lu Changxing laughed heartily, promptly nibbling on his daughter's chubby cheeks. Changxing, you're back. What's making you so happy? At this moment, the door to the talisman room opened. Lu Miaoge, clad in a snow-white dress, her visage gentle and lovely, walked out. Seeing the father and daughter so joyous, a beautiful smile graced her face as she spoke. Hee, seeing my darling daughter and wife naturally makes me happy. Lu Changxing said with a smile. Still so slick-tongued even though you're a father now. Lu Miaoge responded with a quip, rolling her eyes affectionately at Lu Changxing while smiling sweetly. Oh, mommy, mouse. At that moment, Lu Qingzhu in Lu Changxing's arms pointed towards the earth spirit mouse, which had finished gnawing on the spirit pill, and called out to Lu Miaoge. Mouse. Lu Miaoge looked to the side and instantly noticed the earth spirit mouse. After scrutinizing it for a moment, she turned to Lu Changxing and asked in surprise, Is this a seeking spirit mouse? In the cultivation world, there were numerous spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities. These were particularly common among rodents. Due to their similar appearance, it was difficult to distinguish between them. Therefore, many referred to these treasure-seeking rodent spiritual beasts collectively as seeking spirit mice. That's right. It's a seeking spirit mouse. I saw this seeking spirit mouse at a stall earlier and thought about buying it to look for treasure later, but then I realized that I hardly ever leave the house. Just now, seeing that little Zhu likes this type of hamster, I decided to give it to her as a companion. Lu Changxing nodded and explained without any concealment. After all, it's easy to recognize a spirit mouse with a seeking spirit mouse bloodline. They typically have golden fur and are palm-sized. This is such a waste. Who spoils their daughter like you do, giving her a seeking spirit mouse as a playmate? Lu Miaoge said reproachfully upon hearing this. Seeking spirit mice might lack combat ability, but just their treasure-seeking effect alone made many families and powers eager to obtain them. Hence, spiritual beasts with treasure-seeking abilities generally had a high value. Although she didn't know how many spirit stones Lu Changxing had spent, she felt it was a lavish expense. As long as little Zhu is happy, that's all that matters. Lu Changxing smiled and said, When little Zhu grows up and starts cultivating, who knows, she might find some treasures with this seeking spirit mouse. Every year, Qingzhou Mountain held a spiritual root testing ceremony. This year, Lu Qingzhou was tested at the ceremony and found to have a 7th grade spiritual root, which relieved both Lu Yuanding and Lu Miaoge. They had feared the child would have no spiritual root and would have to be sent to live an ordinary life. Lu Qingshan also had his spiritual root aptitude tested, but it seemed the Qingzhou Mountain testing crystal was too shoddy, as it only confirmed the presence of a spiritual root and failed to detect Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. Regarding this, Lu Changxing theorized, aside from the poor quality of the testing crystal, it was also because Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution was still growing. Just keep pampering her. Lu Miaoge smiled and shook her head, no longer saying anything. Since her husband had given their daughter a playmate, she, as a mother, naturally couldn't say no. Moreover, once Lu Qingzhou grew older, maybe she really could find some treasure with the help of the Earth Spirit Mouse. Mother! Lu Qingzhou pointed to the Earth Spirit Mouse and called out to her mother. Oh, such a cute little mouse. Does little Zhu like it? Seeing this, Lu Miaoge immediately came forward with a gentle smile on her face. She also picked up the Earth Spirit Mouse to take a closer look. She wanted to see if it was a mid-grade gold-seeking mouse or a high-grade seeking spirit mouse. I like it, Lu Qingzhou said in her childish voice. If you like it, then little Zhu needs to take good care of it, okay? Lu Miaoge told her daughter. Okay. Lu Qingzhou nodded vigorously. After chatting with her daughter for a bit, Lu Miaoge let Lu Changxing watch over her. She went to deliver the talisman she had just finished making. Lu Changxing watched his daughter holding the little hamster, looking at it from every angle, and handed her a bottle of spirit-nurturing pills to feed and play with it. After a short while, Lu Miaoge came back. She looked at her well-behaved and quiet daughter chatting idly with Lu Changxing. Changxing, how familiar are you with the Thunder Fire Talisman now? At that moment, Lu Miaoge inquired. I'm about 40 or 50% confident. Lu Changxing said out loud. That fast? Lu Miaoge exclaimed with surprise and delight on her face. This success rate was not low. After all, a second-rank low-grade talisman could bring about a 20-fold profit. Even with a success rate of 10 or 20%, one could roughly make money. Of course, that was not counting the accumulated practice over days and months. Like Lu Miaoge, who was currently practicing second-rank talismans, she practiced only once per day when she was at her best condition. After all, the practice cost of over 20 spirit stones was truly heart-wrenching. Even if the Lu family's talisman paper was made from their own jade spirit bamboo, costing only the price of materials, it was still painful. It's okay, isn't it? I've been improving a bit every month. Lu Changxing said with a smile. Who makes progress every month? Lu Miaoge felt somewhat struck by her husband's words. Talisman making, much like cultivation, often faced bottlenecks that could last a lifetime without progress. Even worse, if one's mentality was affected, one could regress on the talisman path. Possibly even the talismans they were once able to draw would get worse. Heh, that's what's happening to me right now. Lu Changxing said with laughter. Yes, 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 my husband is the greatest. Lu Miaoge's face broke into an indulgent smile. She then inquired, by the way, Changxing, when do you plan to hold your second-grade talisman master ceremony? In a few more months, I guess. I'll wait until my success rate improves a bit and I get familiar with a few other talismans, then I'll notify the family head. Lu Changxing said thoughtfully. In his view, after holding the ceremony, he would definitely be busy for a while. Now that Xianxia was about 4 months away from giving birth. If he were to inform the Lu family now, preparing and sending out invitations would take about a month or two. The timing could easily overlap. So he planned to wait until after Xianxia had given birth before organizing the ceremony. Lu Miaoge nodded. She knew that the talisman path was analogous to other skills. Once proficient in one type of talisman, mastering others would become much easier. She thought her husband truly approached things with a steady hand. Even for a ceremony, he insisted on being fully prepared. This was also thanks to her husband's exceptional talent and rapid progress on the talisman path. Otherwise, for someone else to do the same might take 3 to 5 years, or even longer toil. Chapter 404. Reduce Expenses and Increase Income, 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. _1. 3 months later. In the residential area of Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changxing cycled the 7 Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword Scripture, his body surrounded by 7 sword radiances, elegant and fierce, fluctuating unpredictably, making his robes billow and flutter. As nature's spiritual energy continued to sweep over him, the sword chi around his body became even sharper, forming a powerful spiritual pressure. Boom! With a thunderous noise inside his body, the spiritual pressure gradually dissipated. 3 years and 7 months, Foundation Establishment Second Level. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, a faint smile forming on his lips. He then inwardly examined his divine sense to check his condition after the breakthrough. His Danshan sea of qi had expanded again, able to hold even more liquefied mana. With the breakthrough in cultivation level, his divine sense also improved slightly. However, as his divine sense had already expanded to 150 zhang under the effects of the Purple Mansion elixir, this breakthrough only added about another 7 or 8 zhang to its range. I wonder when I will be able to draw alchemy skills through the system. Otherwise, this way, the elixir medicines of the qi refinement realm will be almost useless to me, with very minimal effects. Lu Changxing glanced at the empty bottles of condensing energy elixirs beside him and exhaled softly. In a large marketplace like Qingyun Market, with big shops like Qingyun Commerce Guild and Elixir Cauldron Pavilion, you can still buy some elixirs that advance Foundation Establishment cultivation if you're willing to spend the money. But it's harder in a marketplace like Red Leaf Valley. Even elixirs that enhance energy refinement late-stage cultivation level are in limited supply. Otherwise, with the 7 Luminaries' Heart Lamp to refine elixir toxicity and burn mana, his cultivation speed could be twice as fast. Without thinking too much more, after slightly stabilizing his mana, Lu Changxing cast a cleansing technique on himself. He cleared away the slight impurities and dust brought by the marrow cleansing during his breakthrough, walking out of the practice room feeling refreshed and clear-headed. Congratulations to Mr. Lu on reaching the 2nd level of Foundation Establishment. In the living room, Xianxia looked at Lu Changxing, her stunning face breaking into a gentle smile. 9 months pregnant, her abdomen was now prominently round. But this did not detract from her beauty. Instead, it added a mature and full-bodied charm to her figure. Her icy skin and bone structure, along with her pure and serene face, also began to exude an enchanting maternal charm over time. It turned her original coolness entirely into a gentle beauty. Her every move revealed a holy and pure beauty. "It's just a minor breakthrough," he remarked. "If it weren't for this little one, Shiyu, you would have been close to breaking through as well," said Lu Changxing, looking tenderly at Xianxia. "Even without this little one, I wouldn't have broken through to the 2nd level of Foundation Establishment so quickly," Xianxia gently said, touching her belly. Although she had cultivated alongside Lu Changxing and made rapid progress, she still spent time consolidating her cultivation foundations after each dual cultivation session. Unlike Lu Changxing, who constantly burned mana with the 7 Luminaries' Heart Lamp to refine his foundations. Moreover, aside from cultivating, she also had to take time out every day to practice her techniques and divine skills. Therefore, she was quite surprised at how quickly Lu Changxing had broken through to the 2nd level of Foundation Establishment. After all, she knew from her daily interactions with Lu Changxing that he only spent 2 or 3 hours a day on cultivation. And after witnessing Lu Changxing deal with 2 Foundation Establishment robber cultivators, she instinctively thought he must have spent a lot of time cultivating his divine technique and skills. Otherwise, how could he possess such divine abilities? Having to spend time with his wives and children as well as cultivate divine technique and skills, and also focus on the talisman path, it was naturally surprising to her that his cultivation could progress so swiftly under these circumstances. However, she did not ask further, knowing that Lu Changxing had great secrets and a rare spiritual or possibly Daoist body. Otherwise, with a 9th grade spiritual root, such speed in cultivation would be impossible. "You've worked hard, Shiyu," Lu Changxing said gently, taking a seat beside her. He tenderly stroked Xiaoxia's rounded, fair, and soft belly with his palm. "It's not hard work. For me, this is also cultivation and experience." Xiaoxia gently shook her head. Since becoming pregnant, she could clearly sense a change in her mental state. It allowed her new insights and understandings of the supreme forgetful love technique, considering it as part of the myriad experiences and practices of mortal life. Lu Changsheng's mouth twitched slightly upon hearing this. He thought to himself that this supreme forgetful love technique really made one continuously associate everything with cultivation. After chatting with Xiaoxia for a while, Lu Changsheng mentioned had returned to Qingzhou Mountain for a visit. Although Xiaoxia was pregnant and he was spending more time and energy here, he couldn't just neglect Qingzhou Mountain and Rui Prefecture. He would still go back every month or two to handle various matters, check on his wives and children, and additionally, work on conceiving more children. Now, the total number of his children had reached 146. After returning to Qingzhou Mountain, as usual, Lu Changxing inquired about the cultivation situations of his children and Bailing. His son Lu Xianji had been stuck at the middle stage of qi refinement and remained at the 3rd level. Lu Changxing hadn't given him any breakthrough elixir, allowing him to gradually overcome the bottleneck on his own. After all, using breakthrough elixirs at this stage would inevitably affect later progress. Despite being a 9th grade spiritual root with basically no potential for further growth, Lu Changxing believed it was best to break through on one's own if possible, and there was no rush for time. Lu Chuanjun had also reached the 3rd level of qi refinement. His daughters Lu Rui and Lu Yun, on the other hand, were at the 2nd level. As for Bailing, she had long since broken through to the 4th level of qi refinement, and it was estimated that before long, she would reach the 5th level. This pace left Lu Changxing astounded. In just 3 short years, even without his provision of elixir medicines, she had cultivated to the 4th level of qi refinement and was close to breaking through to the 5th level. Chapter 405. Cutting Costs and Increasing Income, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scripture. This speed is not at all inferior to that of Xiaoxia's initial progress and even surpasses it by a notch. Afterward, Lu Changxing inquired about the situation of his other children. The 5th child with a spiritual root has also reached 12 years of age and has started the cultivation process. But he has not yet completed the drawing in of qi. Starting from next year, the children who are able to cultivate will experience a minor burst in growth. Lu Changxing spent an entire day caring for and inquiring after all his children. He knew that in the next 4 years, he would have 15 children with spiritual roots stepping onto the path of immortality. This was thanks to his frenetic sowing when he first arrived at 9 Dragons Market. In just 5 short years, he had fathered 60 children. On average, 1 child per month. If it hadn't been for the 2nd and 4th elders persuading him to take care of his body and show some restraint, the number might have been even higher. 9 Dragons Market. Lu Changxing reflected on the days when he bought maids from the White Jade Tower in 9 Dragons Market. It feels like it's time to select some more maids. He couldn't help but think to himself. Among these wives and maids, apart from Lu Miaoge who had only given birth to 1, Lu Miaohuan had borne 2. The others had at least 3 or 4 each. Some of the concubines had gone as far as having 5 or 6 children. In Lu Changsheng's view, this number was about right. Although the purchased maids had no rights. They couldn't be treated solely as breeding machines. Empathy was key. The concubines needed to be devoted to him wholeheartedly. Otherwise, when the children grew up, seeing their mothers treated like this, they would feel uncomfortable too. If the outflow is to be stemmed, the source must be widened by increasing the number of maids. Moreover, I now have the money to go to the White Jade Tower and purchase maids with middle grade and even upper grade spiritual roots. Lu Changxing thought to himself for a moment. He decided to visit the White Jade Tower in 9 Dragons Market when he had some free time. It wasn't just about income and expenditure. All his maids were of lower grade spiritual roots. This had a certain influence on the spiritual root talent of the children born. Now that his circumstances had improved, it was time for a further step in selective breeding. After all, the higher the parent's spiritual roots, the better the children's spiritual roots would be. After staying in Qingzhou Mountain for 10 days, Lu Changxing prepared to return to Red Leaf Valley Market. Boom! Just then, a relatively dense cultivation level surged into Lu Changsheng's body from nowhere. He immediately knew that his son, Lu Xianxia, had broken through the bottleneck of the middle stage of qi refinement. He had reached the 4th level of energy refinement. The 4th level of energy refinement, if not counting the quality of spiritual power and mana, is about 1% of my current cultivation level. It's equivalent to saving me a month and a half of arduous cultivation. Lu Changsheng closed his eyes to feel the incoming cultivation strength and roughly estimated. If we calculate this way, 100 cultivators at the 4th level of energy refinement would be equal to 1 foundation establishment. However, the quality difference in mana allows a foundation establishment cultivator to easily slaughter 100 cultivators in the middle stage of energy refinement. Lu Changsheng shook his head slightly, knowing such calculations were not feasible. But reaching the middle stage of energy refinement at least has some effect on me. When breaking through to the 2nd and 3rd levels of energy refinement earlier, there was no perceivable impact on me. Now that I'm at the foundation establishment level, for my children to impact me, they need to be at the late stage of qi refinement. But waiting for a child to cultivate to the late stage of energy refinement will probably take another 10 to 20 years. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. The path of cultivation seemed long and distant. After all, aside from Lu Qingshan and the previously mentioned son with a 4th grade spiritual root, Lu Qingxian, the spiritual roots of his current children were mediocre at best. There were only 2 with 6th grade middle spiritual roots. All the others were of lower grade spiritual roots. But indeed, as I suspected, there was no achievement reward for the child breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. Could it be that such cultivation-related achievement rewards won't trigger again until they break through to foundation establishment? If that's the case, it's way too difficult. Lu Changsheng saw no system notification and shook his head inwardly. Although he had anticipated this, he still held a faint hope. He wanted to see if breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement would trigger an achievement reward. Xianxia is also 15 or 16 now, having broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement. It's time to let him gain some experience in Red Leaf Valley Market. Seeing Lu Xianxi's breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, Lu Changsheng thought about his son who was no longer young. He planned to let him go out to broaden his horizon and get tempered. After all, flowers cannot be grown in a greenhouse. These children were his future foundation. They would need them to manage the family later on. Even with average spiritual roots, they must be well cultivated. Thereupon, Lu Changsheng walked towards Lu Xianxi's courtyard. "Dad, I've broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement." At that moment, Lu Xianxia emerged from the courtyard, his face bright with joy. Seeing Lu Changsheng, he spoke with excitement. "Not bad, far stronger than your father back in the day," Lu Changsheng said, not sparing on praises. "How could the child dare to compare with you, father? Back then you relied on your own efforts to progress step by step. If it weren't for the resources you spent and the environment you provided, how could I have broken through to the middle stage of energy refinement so quickly?" Lu Xianxia quickly responded. The praise from his father, though thrilling, he was very aware that his current wealth was entirely due to standing on his father's shoulders. Guided by his grandmother's teachings and interaction with other Lu family disciples, he knew that many Lu family disciples didn't have conditions as favorable as his brothers and sisters. His father had used all his cultivation resources to support them, especially since he only has a 9th grade spiritual root, deemed unworthy of cultivation, yet his father chose to treat him no differently. Chapter 406, Open Sources and Save Expenditures, the 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. Therefore, in his heart, Lu Xianxia still held immense admiration and respect for his own father. Your father strives hard in the hope that your path will be smoother and you will go farther than I have. Upon hearing his son's words, Lu Changxing smiled and patted him on the shoulder, saying. He then continued, now that you've broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, I plan to take you to the marketplace to broaden your horizons and gain some experience. What do you think? Son will follow father's arrangements. Upon hearing this, Lu Xianxia immediately nodded in agreement. Having been in Qingzhou Mountain for so many years, he naturally yearned for the cultivation world and wanted to go out and see it for himself. Good, prepare yourself. Tomorrow, come with me to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changxing nodded his head and said. He told Lu Xianxia to go and say farewell to the family and friends. Congratulations, brother Xianxia. Congratulations to the seventh brother for breaking through to the middle stage of qi refinement. The other children in the courtyard, upon hearing that Lu Xianxia had broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement and that Lu Changxing was going to take him to the Red Leaf Valley Market, expressed their envy and congratulations. Lu Miaoyan, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Zhenzhen, the aunties, also heard the news and each gave gifts to encourage him. After all, being the first child in the family to break through to the middle stage of qi refinement had its special significance and was worth celebrating. Under these circumstances, Lu Xianxia seemed to take on a bit more responsibility. Although he was the seventh in the family, those ranked ahead of him like Lu Pingan, due to the lack of a spiritual root, had all been sent into the secular world. Therefore, in Qingzhou Mountain he was effectively the eldest, bearing the responsibilities of an older brother. After a small celebration, the next day, Lu Changxing rode atop an iron feather eagle, taking his son, Lu Xianxia, with him to the Red Leaf Valley Market. First, he took Lu Xianxia to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop to meet Lu Miaoga. Although he planned to have Lu Xianxia stay at the Peace Talisman Hall, he had to bring him over to meet with her since he was here. With him often absent, Lu Xianxia could come to Lu Miaoga if he had any issues. In the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Miaoga was quite an influential figure. Xianxia, feel free to come by your auntie's place when you have the time. Lu Miaoga said with a gentle and amiable expression. She was much more well off than the other wives and concubines of Lu Changxing and gave Lu Xianxia a magic artifact as a gift. Many thanks, auntie. Lu Xianxia seldom met with this auntie, Lu Miaoga, and did not feel very close to her, slightly restrained. After accepting the gift, he bowed respectfully. After a brief chat, Lu Changxing took Lu Xianxia to visit the Peace Talisman Hall. Peace Talisman Hall, Dad, is this our family's shop? Lu Xianxia looked at the shop in front of him and asked aloud. He knew that besides owning 100 mu of spiritual land on Qingzhou Mountain, his father also owned a spirit talisman shop and a mansion in the Red Leaf Valley Market. The reason why he and his siblings had such comfortable conditions was due to this spiritual land and the shop and mansion. That's right, this is our family's spirit talisman shop. Lu Changxing nodded and said, I didn't bring you here to learn talisman making. Instead, I want you to broaden your horizons and understand the ins and outs of managing a shop, doing business. Aren't you interested in puppets? Now that you've broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, you can spend some time on this. If there's anything you don't understand, come and ask your father. Once you become a puppet master, your father will open a shop for you. Lu Changxing spoke to his son. His son might not have a talent for talisman making, but he did have some for puppets. Since he had just begun cultivation, Lu Changxing hadn't wanted him to be distracted by puppets. Now that he had broken through to the middle stage of qi refinement, Lu Changxing was willing to let him spend some time on it. After all, the art of puppets was also an important part of his future that needed to be passed on. Yes, father. Upon hearing this, Lu Xianxia looked at the words, Peace Talisman Hall and pursed his lips, showing determination in his eyes. Shopkeeper. Shopkeeper. As the two entered the shop, the greeters and shopkeeper Gao, he immediately greeted them resoundingly. Xianxia, this is your Uncle Gao. Lu Changxing introduced to Lu Xianxia. Uncle Gao. Lu Xianxia promptly called out. On the way over, Lu Changxing had briefly explained the situation of the spiritual talisman shop. He knew that this man with a round face and slightly aged appearance was the shopkeeper of the spirit talisman shop. Old Gao, this is my son, Lu Xianxia. I plan to place him in the shop as an apprentice, to gain some experience and understand how the shop is managed. You won't need to teach him about making talismans, but it'll trouble you to instruct him in other aspects. Lu Changsheng spoke to his old friend Gao He. The two had known each other for more than 10 years and had been employer and employee for 6 years. Since Lu Changsheng had always been an absent shop owner, and Gao He managed the shop well, their personal relationship remained quite good. Sure, no problem. Gao He, upon hearing that this was the young shop owner, immediately smiled and agreed. This practice of placing family children in the shop to learn was quite common. As long as Lu Xianxia wasn't a spoiled brat, he naturally wouldn't have any objections. Moreover, having been a shopkeeper for so many years, he had a good eye and could tell that Lu Xianxia didn't seem to be a troublesome person. After Lu Xianxia was settled in, Lu Changsheng left for his mansion to check on Xiaoxia's condition. After all, according to the timeline, Xiaoxia was due to give birth this month. The thought of Xiaoxia's child being soon born inevitably filled Lu Changsheng with anticipation. However, after waiting for a month, the child in Xiaoxia's womb did not arrive as expected. Lu Changsheng was not worried about this situation. Instead, he showed a look of delight. Because children who are born later than expected are either problematic or naturally extraordinary with potentially excellent spiritual root quality. Chapter 407. Save and Earn, 99 Mysterious Talisman Scriptures. _4. He and Xiaoxia were both foundation establishment cultivators and naturally were able to sense the general condition of the child. There were no issues with vitality. Therefore, there was a high probability that the child possessed a fairly good spiritual root, or even a spiritual body. Thus, Lu Changsheng awaited the birth of the child with a calm heart and anticipation. Before the child was born, 7 days later, a faint flow of energy, accompanied by a system notification, sounded. Congratulations to the host. 5 offspring have completed the absorption of qi into their bodies, stepping onto the path of cultivation, and received the bloodline effect, a 5% increase in the probability of the offspring's spiritual roots and 1 lottery draw. 5. Kursin has completed the absorption of qi into her body. Through this flow of energy and the system notification, Lu Changsheng knew that his 5th child with a spiritual root, Lu Kursin, had completed the absorption of qi into her body. He wasn't surprised by this. After all, according to the timing, Lu Kursin should have completed it by now. Now that it was done, it was even slower than those like Lu Xianxia and the others before her. It was just slightly surprising that an achievement lottery was triggered with just 5 children. He had thought it would take 10. But this increase is quite good. At this rate, won't all my future descendants basically have a spiritual root? Lu Changsheng, seeing the increase in the probability of his offspring's spiritual roots, nodded slightly with joy. After all, his children were his foundation. System, draw the lottery. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly and began the lottery draw. A pale red virtual lottery wheel appeared and quickly started spinning. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the cultivation technique, 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture. The reward has been issued to the system space, where the host can check it at any time. An image of a translucent jade scroll appeared, accompanied by the system notification. 99 Mystical Talisman Scripture? A talisman inheritance? Lu Changsheng, seeing this cultivation technique, raised an eyebrow slightly, showing a trace of interest. The cultivation world possessed 100 arts of cultivation. Each art was profoundly complex and could evolve into a path. Although he had a second-rank full-level talisman-making skill, it was merely an array of basic talisman skills. He did not possess any profoundly mysterious talisman inheritance. Or rather, such profound skill inheritance was not only rare but also required a high threshold for cultivation. Besides certain demands on the spiritual root, there were other requirements as well. For example, Spirit Taming Sect, one of the 3 great immortal sects of Jiang country, and as famous as Qingyun sect, the sect was renowned for beast taming. However, Such sects not only looked at the talent of one's spiritual root but also at the compatibility between an individual and spiritual beasts. In the Immortal sect's assessments, even if you had a lower-grade spiritual root but you naturally resonated and were compatible with certain spiritual beasts, they would still admit you into the sect. I remember that there are no sects with talisman inheritance in Jiang country. On the other hand, in Yu country next door, there is a sect known as Beast Talisman Sect. Famous for talisman path, their sect-protecting cultivation technique, Beast Talisman Scripture, can integrate demon beasts and talismans together, creating an extremely formidable power. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. The southern wilderness cultivation realm was vast, and Jiang country was but a corner of it. Through various epistles and travel notes, Lu Changsheng knew that Jiang country was only considered a mid-sized nation, and there were many more nations outside. Each country would have different inheritances and sects. Although Jiang country had the beast taming sect, because of the country's overlord level sect, the heavenly sword sect, when other countries' cultivation realms talked about Jiang country's cultivation realm, the first thing they thought of were sword cultivators. Lu Changsheng did not dwell on it further, turning his attention to the system space to check the details of the cultivation technique he had just drawn. Cultivation technique, 99 mystical talisman scripture, grade, orthodox level, description, the mysterious talisman sect protecting technique, containing 99 unique spiritual patterns. Reflect on talismans for mental cultivation. With accomplished practice, one can draw talismans in the void, refine talismans into formation, and sacrificing talisman soldiers. Its methods are profound and its power is boundless. This 99 mystical talisman scripture really lives up to being an orthodox level cultivation technique. It's so comprehensive. Lu Changsheng, looking at the description of 99 mystical talisman scripture in front of him, was pleasantly surprised. System, transmit the inheritance. His mental spirit stirred immediately, and he used the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Instantly, the method for cultivating the 99 mystical talisman scripture and related content, all the essential pointers, poured into Lu Changsheng's mind like enlightenment. Lu Changsheng stood still, immersing his mental spirit in comprehending this orthodox level talisman inheritance technique. Chapter 408, The Second Spiritual Body Child. _1. True to a talisman inheritance technique, this 99 mystical talisman scripture is indeed complex and profound. Lu Changsheng opened his eyes and exhaled lightly. Just now, through the system inheritance and a thorough infusion of knowledge, he had fully comprehended the 99 mystical talisman scripture. As for the cultivation methods and related content within it, he knew all key points by heart, mastering them perfectly. Yet even so, he couldn't help but marvel at the complexity and mysteries of this 99 mystical talisman scripture. The core of the technique lies in the 81 special spiritual patterns within the scripture. Each of these 81 patterns could evolve into hundreds or thousands of intricate runes. Combining and arranging these spiritual patterns and derived runes, one could create 129,600 types of spirit talismans. This number was astounding. To know, as a fully leveled second-rank talisman master, Lu Changsheng's total number of mastered talismans barely surpassed 1,000. As for Lu Miaoge, currently a top-level first-grade talisman master, the number of talismans she mastered didn't even reach 100. Because human energy is limited. Each talisman requires time to practice and master. Even second or third-rank talisman masters, who could easily draw first-rank talismans, still needed to invest time and energy. And yet, the 81 spiritual patterns in this 99 mystical talisman scripture encompass 129,600 spirit talismans. That's why these 81 spiritual patterns are each incredibly profound and difficult to comprehend. Therefore, to fully understand and accurately depict all 81 patterns is exceedingly difficult, too difficult. Enough to consume the lifetimes of many core formation, nascent soul, and even divinity transformation cultivators. Beyond these 81 spiritual patterns, this scripture also involves formations. Talisman formations. Talisman refinement formation. Ordinary cultivators and even talisman masters employ talismans in relatively simple ways. Just like casting techniques, they activate and use the talismans. Even if they have a vast amount of talismans, they just use them in a simple barrage. This method not only wastes talismans, but its power and effectiveness are also mediocre. Sometimes, because of too many and too messy talismans, activating too many at once can be difficult to control, leading to mana flux and self-harm. However, the talisman formation within the 99 mystical talismans scripture perfectly solves this drawback. It links talismans together in harmonious compatibility, not only reducing the demands for divine sense control but also allowing dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of talismans to activate simultaneously, with their power stacking up to form a talisman formation. Though it cannot be maintained for long, it's faster and simpler than a formation tool. The moment thousands of talismans scatter down, the formation takes shape instantly with astounding power. This 99 mystical talisman scripture is excessively complex. Only someone with extraordinary talent and genius in the talisman path can cultivate it, Lu Changxing murmured as he exhaled deeply. Otherwise, even if one cultivates the power of this scripture, if they cannot fully comprehend the spiritual patterns, they won't be able to showcase the true might of these techniques. Lu Changxing took another deep breath and released it gently. He clearly recognized that the difficulty of this scripture was not in the cultivation of the technique, but in the understanding and the delineation of the 81 spiritual patterns. Only by grasping the core spiritual patterns of this technique could he maximize the myriad methods contained within the scripture, such as the life-bound divine talisman, void drawing of talismans, talisman refinement formation, and sacrificial refinement of talisman soldiers. Otherwise, even with access to the scripture, if one couldn't comprehend the spiritual patterns, they would only have slightly denser mana than ordinary cultivators, unable to unleash the true capabilities of this scripture. Perhaps it is due to the challenging nature of this technique that there are few sects specializing in it. For cultivators, even though they cultivate divine skills and techniques, in the end, the cultivation realm is the foundation. If too much effort is spent on other aspects, it will inevitably delay one's cultivation, he pondered. However, if I were to fully comprehend and grasp the entire 99 mystical talisman scripture, once the talisman formation is formed, its lethality would be even more fierce and domineering than the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture I'm currently cultivating. Lu Changxing thought silently to himself. Through the transmission of the technique, he knew clearly the most powerful aspect of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, making it plaything-like to overcome enemies above one's rank with hundreds or thousands of talismans formed into a talisman formation. With proper preparations and enough talismans, even those at the foundation establishment stage could have a chance to subdue core formation cultivators. Of course, as powerful as it truly was exorbitantly expensive. After all, such a talisman formation needed to be built with actual talismans. It couldn't be said that the talisman formation could also be formed with void drawing of talismans. Chapter 409. The Second Spiritual Body Child. Lu Changxing chuckled softly. Most of the talismans in the market were common ones. Only a small number of people and powers held a few exclusive talismans and talisman inheritances. And how many of these powerful exclusive talismans existed in the 99 mystical talisman scripture was anybody's guess. From Lu Changxing's perspective, in the future, his family could completely rely on these various talismans to establish a foothold and occupy a segment of the market in the cultivation world. Although I don't cultivate the 99 mystical talisman scripture, besides the 129,600 talismans, it also contains methods for crafting several talisman instruments. Among them, there is one talisman instrument, the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, which assists in talisman refinement formation. It is very suitable for me. I could try to craft a simplified imitation. As for talisman warriors, according to the cultivation technique, crafting talisman warriors consumes a lot of time and energy, as well as cultivation level to nurture them. Currently, my cultivation level only allows me to craft ordinary force talisman warriors. Such talisman warriors can only do rough work and are not capable of fighting against others. To me, they are a waste of time and energy. Only when my cultivation level is higher and I have time and am willing to invest effort in crafting advanced level talisman warriors will they have some combat effectiveness. However, within this scripture, there is a rather good talisman nurturing method. It involves drawing spirit talismans with excellent talisman materials and then spending time continuously nurturing the talismans, enabling a first-grade talisman to exhibit the power of a second-rank talisman and a second-rank talisman to exhibit the power of a third-rank talisman. Currently, I can only draw second-rank supreme talismans, but with this talisman nurturing method, I can nurture several third-rank talismans for self-defense. That way, if I encounter a nascent soul immortal, I will also have some ability to protect myself. Lu Changsheng pondered silently to himself, considering what aspects of the 99 mystical talisman scripture could be beneficial to him at the moment. Apart from mastering many powerful talismans, he could also craft a formation path talisman instrument. After all, talisman refinement formation can be considered the essence of this cultivation technique. It would allow him to elevate his combat capabilities by a level. And with the talisman nurturing method from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, he could nurture a few life-saving talismans. In this way, even if he encountered nascent soul immortals or false core immortals, he would have some means of self-protection. But to craft a simplified version of the 99 mysterious true strategy, I need to use rare materials like black obsidian essence iron and the iron of the 5 metals. Several of these materials are third-rank heavenly treasures, and it is clearly impossible to gather them all in the Red Leaf Valley market. Also, to nurture third-rank treasure talismans, I must use third-rank materials to draw the talismans. Lu Changsheng furrowed his brows slightly. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market was just a newly established marketplace. Even among medium-sized markets, it was considered relatively inferior at the bottom of the scale. Thus, purchasing third-rank materials in the market was very difficult. Unless one had fortuitous luck, otherwise acquiring such materials was nearly impossible. After Shi Yu and the Lu family affairs are dealt with, I'll first go to the Qingyun Commerce Guild in the Nine Dragons Market to see. If the Nine Dragons Market doesn't have them, I could take a trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City and just happen to pick up the rewards for the 2 robbers I hunted. Lu Changxing mused softly in his heart. In his view, it was worth making a trip out to craft a talisman instrument and nurture treasure talismans. With his current strength comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment, heading to the Immortal City wouldn't be dangerous as long as he didn't run into any nascent soul immortals. Later, I'll craft some sets of talismans that can form a talisman formation. That way, encountering late Foundation establishment or even false core robber cultivators shouldn't be a big deal. Lu Changsheng thought to himself in secret. Now, with his divine sense comparable to the late stage of Foundation establishment and the profound origin bead at his side, he could easily deploy some talisman formations as long as he had enough talismans. If he formed a talisman formation with 100 second-rank talismans, he was confident he could suppress a cultivator at the late stage of Foundation establishment. As for false core immortals, Lu Changxing had never encountered one, so he was unsure of their strength. But based on the power of a talisman formation composed of 100 second-rank talismans, even if he couldn't kill the opponent, he could at least cause them severe damage. Since Xianxia could give birth at any moment, Lu Changxing, aside from occasionally visiting the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop and peace talisman hall, spent most of his time accompanying Xianxia, waiting for the child to be born. 1 month later, inside the cultivation cave, Lu Changxing held Xiaoxia's delicate, boneless palm tightly. Wah! A clear cry of a baby echoed. At the same time, a profound and intense fluctuation burst forth, accompanied by a system notification sound. Chapter 410, The Second Spiritual Body Child. Lu Lang, look at this child, she's actually not crying, she's looking at me and smiling. Xianxia said to Lu Changxing, holding the baby in his arms, in a soft voice. This child was a girl. Her skin was like jade, fair with a rosy undertone, and two large eyes, clear-cut in black and white, were looking at Lu Changxing and Xianxia. Yes, this child, Shiyu, you carried her for 11 months before giving birth, she is surely extraordinary. Look at these eyes, this nose, so much like yours. Lu Changxing looked at the child and laughed. Thanks to the improvements from the Immortal beauty technique and peach blossom goo, Lu Changxing had extraordinarily handsome features, which meant his children were all either strikingly handsome or beautiful. There were no ugly children. Lu Lang, you're always so flattering, she's so little, how can you even tell? Xiaoxia looked at the child's facial features, also very happy, revealing a blissful smile. Then she asked, Lu Lang, have you thought of a good name for this child? I have, of course, thought of one, Lu Changxing replied immediately upon hearing this. Since it's a girl, I hope she can be like you, Shiyu, akin to the Guanghan fairy of the 9 heavens bright moon. So, as for the name, how about Wangshu? What do you think? Lu Changxing smiled and said aloud. Wangshu, in ancient mythology, is the deity who drives the moon's chariot and is also a poetic reference to the moon itself. He now enjoyed picking names with meanings related to his wife's name. Wangshu, Lu Wangshu, Xiaoxia repeated the child's name, a smile appearing on her somewhat pale and weak face. She obviously also heard the meaning in the name. If Shiyu has thought of any good names, that's fine too, Lu Changxing continued. Having picked hundreds of names, he wasn't particularly concerned about the names of his children. Any name his wife fancied would be fine. Shiyu is very satisfied with this name, Xiaoxia said with a gentle smile. Then, the two of them held their child, whispering sweet nothings to each other, filled with endearment and affection. Meanwhile, Qingyun sect. Atop the luxurious palace on Qian Peak, a breathtakingly beautiful woman stood quietly at the balustrade, gazing into the distance. Her beauty was difficult to describe with mere words like nation-toppling. Tall and slender, her graceful figure was dressed in a gown that resembled flowing rosy clouds. Her long, luscious black hair was elegantly styled in a bun, fastened with a phoenix-shaped hairpin, conveying her nobility and grace beyond compare. Even standing still, she emitted a presence that made others feel unworthy and dared not to defile her majestic beauty. More than 3 years have passed, and I wonder how Shiyu is doing. Yun Wanshang gazed into the distance, a surge of emotions suddenly filling her heart, prompting thoughts of her disciple Xiaoxia, who had left the mountain. When Xiaoxia had left the mountain, she told her that this period of trials could last a short 3 years or as long as 5 years. Now that 3 years had passed, an unexpected rush of emotions made her think of Xiaoxia's circumstances. Although Xiaoxia's trials were not supposed to be very dangerous, Yun Wanshang still couldn't help but worry. In her spare time, she pondered the supreme forgetful love technique. With the insights Xiaoxia had previously provided, Yun Wanshang had different realizations upon reflection, gaining a deeper understanding of the profound mysteries of this cultivation technique. She understood that the supreme forgetful love technique's process from attachment to detachment made it easier to become deeply ensnared with each advancement in cultivation. One careless step, and one might never be able to extricate oneself. After all, everyone has their emotions and desires. Even those with firm Dao hearts find it difficult to contend with the complexities of emotions. Master! Just then, a woman in a white palace gown approached the pavilion and bowed to Yun Wansheng. This woman appeared to be around 25 or 26 years old. She had a striking, well-defined face, with sharp, narrow eyes that combined feminine softness with a hint of brisk coldness. Her nose was shapely and her lips tender, naturally rosy without the need for rouge. Her long black hair was simply tied back in a ponytail, and she carried an azure, wavering spiritual sword on her back. She exuded a cool, aloof aura, like a peerless sword fairy. Ting, you're back. Is there any progress? Yun Wanshang asked as she turned to look at the woman. This disciple was Chu Qingyi, her eldest one, who had been sent out on a mission. Master, according to my investigation, there are indeed issues with the Xiahou family. They show signs of practicing demonic techniques, Chu Qingyi reported, her voice crisp and cold. Have you been able to determine which demonic technique these traces originate from? Could it be the work of a spy from another nation? Yun Wanshang asked, not surprised by the news. I haven't discovered relevant information yet, but through certain clues, it seems the Xiahou family's demonic techniques are related to the practice of refining corpses, Chu Qingyi stated. Refining corpses. Upon hearing this, Yun Wanshang's starry, brilliant eyes showed a trace of coldness. Chapter 411. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. _1. System. After accompanying Xiaoxia for a good while, and waiting until her face showed tranquility and her breathing evened out as she gradually fell asleep, Lu Changsheng silently invoked in his heart. Instantly, the system panel surfaced before his eyes. Name, Lu Changsheng. Identity, son-in-law of the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain. Cultivation level, foundation establishment second level, lifespan, 36/269. Talent, 4th grade spiritual root, Gingjin body constitution, moderate spiritual body, blood talisman spiritual body, upper grade spiritual body. Cultivation technique, 100 refinements treasure body art, 7 luminaries great freedom sword scripture, yin-yang harmony technique, 99 mystical talisman scripture, immortal. Beauty technique. Spell, 7 luminaries sword glow, 7 luminaries sword shield, 7 luminaries sword escape. Items, 9 treasure jade rui, luminous treasure tree, golden armor bean mother, black dragon magical bead, book of malevolent curses and fates, life substituting talisman, profound origin bead, coagulation crystal elixir. Skills, talisman making, second rank, puppet, second rank, spirit slaughterer, second rank. Spiritual pets, 9 netherhound, peach blossom goo, 6. Winged golden silkworm, hope goo. Offspring, 143 of 146, blood talisman spiritual body? What kind of spiritual body is this? And this spiritual body, why haven't I noticed any changes to my body? Lu Changsheng, seeing the new addition related to constitution on his attribute panel, felt astonished. He immediately closed his eyes and explored his body with his divine sense. He wanted to inspect the condition of this blood talisman spiritual body. Although spiritual bodies require the children to grow up before fully taking shape, he should not be completely unaware of it. After a long examination, Lu Changsheng's divine sense finally made a discovery. Within his own dantian, he found strands of faint blood-colored light patterns. These blood patterns, composed of wisps and strands, were ephemeral, forming a mysterious rhythm. They seemed like a series of profound and unknown seal scripts. This blood talisman spiritual body must be a recessive spiritual body that requires some kind of opportunity to awaken. These blood patterns are likely the spiritual patterns formed by the rules of heaven and earth of the blood talisman spiritual body. After checking his own condition, Lu Changsheng had some guesses about this blood talisman spiritual body. In the cultivation world, there are many types of spiritual bodies. Regardless of the number, these spiritual bodies can be classified as either overt or recessive spiritual bodies. Overt spiritual bodies are like Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution. They can be directly detected. As soon as one begins cultivation, they naturally exhibit their might. Recessive spiritual bodies, however, remain hidden and are hard for people to discern. One might need to reach a certain age or go through certain methods to awaken the spiritual body and exhibit its might. Just like his friend, Zhao Qingqing. She possessed a vague body constitution. But initially, her spiritual body hadn't awakened, nor had it been detected. It was later, while managing the herb garden, that an external elder from the Qingyun sect noticed her situation and awakened her spiritual body. No wonder I didn't feel any change. You'll need to look up information about this blood talisman spiritual body later. See what methods can be used to awaken the spiritual body. Lu Changsheng murmured to himself. planning to check the information about this spiritual body later. This blood talisman spiritual body, being an upper-grade spiritual body, is a level higher than Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution and is clearly not simple. And by the name, it should be related to the talisman path, some kind of talisman path spiritual body. A talisman path spiritual body, like a sword cultivator's supreme sword bone or a poison cultivator's calamitous poison body, is naturally suited for the talismanic great Tao, with inherent extraordinary talent for talismans. If that's the case, then the 99 mystical talisman scripture I obtained earlier might be greatly developed in the hands of this child. Lu Changsheng thought to himself. Looking at the pink and tender, sweet and lovely infant in his arms, a surge of affection and joy involuntarily rose from the bottom of his heart. Based on the recent pulse sensation of the spiritual root, this child should have a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Changsheng then reflected on this child's spiritual root. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he brought up his daughter's system panel. Name, Lu Wangshu. Lifespan, 182nd. Talent, 4th-grade spiritual root. Blood talisman spiritual body, upper-grade spiritual body. Cultivation level, none. There it is, a 4th-grade spiritual root. A 4th-grade spiritual root with an upper-grade spiritual body, this child will become one of the pillars of the Lu family. A smile emerged on Lu Changsheng's face. His heart was filled with anticipation for the child's future. Lu Qingshan with a 6th-grade spiritual root, possessing the Gingjin body constitution. Lu Qingxian with a 4th-grade spiritual root. Lu Wangshu with a 4th-grade spiritual root and the blood talisman spiritual body. My Lu family has indeed gained a few pillar seeds for the future. Lu Changsheng rejoiced inwardly. He had 146 children. The first batch of these children were already stepping into adulthood one after another. Chapter 412. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, 2nd Rank Alchemy. When these children are about big enough, these 3 aspects should also be about ready, Lu Changsheng thought to himself. System, draw a prize. Without further thought, Lu Changsheng silently invoked again in his mind. He intended to use the lotteries he had just won. The prize wheel emerged, shining with golden light, spinning rapidly. Under Lu Changsheng's calm gaze, the golden light eventually stopped on skills. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining 2nd rank alchemy skills. The reward has been issued to the system space, and the host may check it at any time. A light orb in the shape of an elixir emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by the system's voice. Alchemy. 2nd rank alchemy. Lu Changsheng saw the reward for his lottery draw and felt a surge of joy. Among the 100 arts of cultivation, what he most wanted at the moment was formation. After that, it was alchemy. These 2 crafts are not only among the mainstream 4 arts in the cultivation world and upper-class professions, but also very useful to him at the moment. As for formation, there's no need to say more. It concerns the great formation of his future family and the placement of the family's formations. Otherwise, buying array plates and hiring other array masters to arrange great formations, he really couldn't be at ease. From the previously seen Heaven and Qingyun Water Great Formation in Red Leaf Valley Market, one could see that the level of such a 2nd rank great formation was very ordinary. Using such formation for his own family, Lu Changsheng really couldn't be at ease. Besides, mastering formations and arranging great formations by himself, in times of danger, activating the great formation and presiding over it could maximize the power of the formation. It's incomparable to presiding over a great formation arranged by others, through array plates or array tools. As for alchemy, after his breakthrough in foundation establishment, purchasing 2nd rank elixir medicines became very difficult. Normally, he could only take energy refining elixirs to aid his cultivation. Now that he had mastered 2nd rank alchemy skills, he no longer had to worry about elixirs. With 2nd rank alchemy, not only can I solve my current need for elixirs. In the future, I might even be able to refine foundation building elixirs. Lu Changsheng rejoiced in his heart. Then he looked toward the light orb in the system space. Second-rank alchemy skills. Upon use, one can directly comprehend second-rank full-level alchemy skills and the corresponding complete compendium of elixir formulas. Wait, are all the skills second rank? Are there no third ranks? Lu Changsheng pondered as he looked at the alchemy skills before him. Including this alchemy skills, he had drawn 4 sets of skills from the system. All of these skills were second rank. It made Lu Changsheng curious whether he could draw third-rank skills. Without much further thought, he used the second-rank alchemy skills from the system space. Suddenly, a flood of knowledge and information poured into his mind from nowhere. Introduction to Alchemy, Basic Alchemy Compendium, First-rank Alchemy Compendium, Second-rank Alchemy Compendium, How Elixir Medicines Are Made, 10 Years of Qi Refinement, 100 Years of Alchemy. After a while, a deluge of knowledge about alchemy flowed into Lu Changsheng's mind. It gave him an understanding of various elixirs, pharmacology, alchemy techniques, temperature control, and so on. Phew, alchemy really is worthy of being one of the mainstream 4 arts of cultivation. From distinguishing the pharmacology of various spiritual medicines, the kings and ministers in each elixir, flame control, different alchemy techniques, spells, amalgamating elixirs, and finalizing them. Lu Changsheng digested the knowledge about alchemy skills in his mind. He felt that the skill was indeed extremely complicated. However, it seems that making high-level second-rank elixirs isn't as simple as I had imagined. After digesting the knowledge, Lu Changsheng furrowed his brows slightly. Now that he had a detailed understanding of alchemy, he knew that ordinary elixirs were very simple to make. 1 pill furnace, 1 fire control formation, or alternatively natural mana solidifying into flame would suffice. But to make certain advanced elixirs, ordinary fire wouldn't do. You would need innate true fire, heavenly spiritual fire, or earth core fire. If I want to make advanced level elixirs, I still need to cultivate a spell or divine skill for condensing innate true fire. Thinking of practicing spells gave Lu Changsheng a headache, because his initial practice of Soul Dispersion Needle made him aware that his aptitude for techniques was very average. Just like the Soul Dispersion Needle, this divine sense attack secret technique, he pondered and attempted it whenever he was free. In the end, it took him over a year to master it. And only then was he able to condense 3 soul-scattering needles in his divine sense, capable of conducting 3 divine sense attacks on others. Now, the thought of having to practice spells made his head ache. Never mind, this is not urgent. The flame solidified by the mana of a foundation establishment cultivator is enough for me to refine most elixirs. When I truly need innate true fire to refine advanced level elixirs, maybe I'll draw some kind of heavenly spiritual fire, or have the conditions to build my own alchemy chamber. Lu Changsheng exhaled lightly and didn't dwell too much on the innate true fire. Chapter 413, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second-rank Alchemy. He indicated that he would probably be busy for a while. No worries, Lulang. Go ahead, important matters come first. Xianxia didn't throw a fit. She knew that, over the past few years, Lu Changsheng had already spent a lot of time on her. The second-grade Talisman Master Ceremony was related to presenting Lu Changsheng's skills to the outside world, and that certainly counted as important business. Okay, I'll come back as soon as I'm done, Lu Changsheng nodded. Then he visited Lu Miaoge and his son Lu Xianji before returning to Qingzhou Mountain. Back home, Lu Changsheng chatted briefly with his wives and children, had a meal, and then headed out to discuss the details of the ceremony with Lu Miaocheng. He also planned to ask for more materials for second-rank talisman making, to be used in assembling a talisman formation. Dad, I have to tell you I found a treasure. At that moment, his son Lu Qingshan came trotting over to Lu Changsheng's side, speaking mysteriously. A treasure? What kind of treasure? Lu Changsheng, seeing how secretive his son was acting, arched an eyebrow and asked with a smile. Hee, let me show you. Lu Qingshan grinned, pulling out a golden bean the size of a chicken egg from inside his clothes. This golden bean even had a tiny sprout growing from it. The sprout was green and tender, with a few jade-like leaves on it. How did you dig up the golden bean from my yard? Lu Changsheng stared at the bean in his son's hand, taken aback, and spoke out. This golden bean was, in fact, the golden armor bean mother he had planted in his own yard. Dad, you planted this treasure? When Lu Qingshan heard this, he also froze, and with a guilty conscience, stammered out his response. He had thought the golden bean was a chance treasure he had found. He never expected it to be something his own father had planted. What else? If you're going to find treasures, you should go out and look for them, not dig up treasures from your own yard, Lu Changxing said irritably, giving his son's head a tap. The golden armor bean mother was just fine growing in his yard, and here his son had dug it up thinking it was a treasure. It was both exasperating and amusing. How did you find this bean? Lu Changxing asked. Nobody other than Lu Miaoyun, Chu Xinjin, and a few others would go into the yard. The kids usually didn't play there either. Plus, this golden armor bean mother was planted in a corner of the yard, concealed by spiritual earth. I asked Xiao Jin to find treasures, and then he found this golden bean. When I saw this golden bean, I felt an inexplicable closeness to it. I thought it was the destined treasure you read about in books. Lu Qingshan held his head with both hands, looking somewhat aggrieved. He was saddened that the opportunity he thought he had was now gone. He had been so elated earlier today. Now that elation was for nothing. Xiao Jin. Lu Changxing naturally knew that Xiao Jin was the earth spirit mouse he had given to Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu, keeping this earth spirit mouse, usually just played and cuddled with it. And since Lu Qingshan heard that this creature could find treasures, he probably got it to search for treasures, resulting in a search that led to his own yard. After figuring out what had happened, Lu Changxing was somewhat speechless. But hearing that Lu Qingshan felt close to the bean, he couldn't help but ask, Qingshan, you said you felt close to this golden bean? Yeah, so when I first saw this golden bean, I felt inexplicably drawn to it. I thought my lucky break had come, Lu Qingshan replied listlessly. Close to it? Could it be because of the Gingjin body constitution? Lu Changsheng pondered upon hearing this. The golden armor bean mother could transform into a golden armor warrior. This golden armor warrior was of the metal element, so it made sense for it to attract someone with a Gingjin body constitution. He held the golden armor bean mother in his hand, focusing on it intently. Indeed, he could faintly sense a closeness. But since he had won the golden armor bean mother from the system, it was already connected to him. So he hadn't noticed the subtle attraction caused by the Gingjin body constitution. This golden bean was planted by Dad in our yard. After planting, it can blossom and bear spiritual beans. Look, this is the bean's sprout, and these are the bean's leaves. In a few more years, the bean will flower and bear fruit. After the beans bear fruit, Dad will give you one, Lu Changxing said aloud. He didn't blame his son. Dad, how many little beans can this golden bean produce at one time? Lu Qingshan immediately perked up upon hearing this and asked curiously. It can produce 5 to 10, but the actual number will depend on how it's nurtured. Like your habit of digging it up, that will affect the number of beans it can bear later on. Lu Changxing threw a glance at his son and remarked. Although it was nourished by the tricolored soil, looking at the bean right now, he estimated that it could probably yield only 7 or 8 beans. Getting a full 10 would be tough. Then, Dad, give me 2 extra beans, right? I'll give one to Sister Qingzhu when the time comes. Lu Qingshan immediately chimed in with a laugh. Willing to share the good stuff, huh? All right, I'll give you 2 extra, and I'll give one to Qingsong too, Lu Changxing replied with a chuckle. Lu Qingsong was Lu Miaohuan's second son, Lu Qingshan's younger brother. Dad, when will this golden bean bear fruit? Lu Qingshan continued to inquire. By the time you're nearly grown up, this golden bean should be able to bear fruit, Lu Changxing answered. Dad, I'm 7 years old. I'm an adult now. Lu Qingshan puffed out his chest proudly and exclaimed. By the time you're 15, this bean should be able to bear fruit. Lu Changxing looked at his son, who was only about 1 meter tall, and chuckled. The golden armor bean mother takes 3 years to germinate, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to flower, and 3 years to produce fruit. But with the nourishment of the tricolored soil, this growth rate was significantly accelerated. Chapter 414. Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. _4. Now, after 3.5 years, the leaves have already grown tender and dewy. Therefore, Lu Changxing estimated that in another 6 or 7 years, the golden armor bean mother could possibly bear beans. That long, huh? Lu Qingshan's spirits deflated immediately upon hearing this. Not long at all. You can water the beans every day. Maybe that will help them grow faster. Thinking of the affinity between the Gingjin body constitution and the beans, Lu Changxing said so. As the Gingjin body constitution resonated somewhat with the golden armor bean mother, regular contact might aid in its growth. Just like some spiritual plant masters use certain techniques to improve the growth of spirit plants. Dad, no problem, but what's the benefit for me? Lu Qingshan showed a pleasing look. Benefits? Lu Changxing looked at his son's youthful face and smiled. This golden bean should yield about 8 beans. When the time comes, it'll give you 3. If you take good care of them and they yield more than 8 beans, all the extra ones will be yours. How about that? Deal. Lu Qingshan agreed immediately with a nod. He even added, Dad, you can't go back on your word and cheat a kid later. Aren't you an adult now? How did you become a child again? Lu Changxing chuckled. In front of you, Dad, I'll always be a child. Lu Qingshan said with a giggle. Hee, Dad always keeps his word, never deceiving anyone. Come on, let's replant this golden bean. Lu Changxing brought his son back to their courtyard. He shook his head at the exposed little pit and planted the golden armor bean mother into it. This soil even glows. How can you not realize it's a treasure? Lu Changxing, looking at the exposed 3-color soil, asked his son. Is this soil also a treasure? At the time, Xiao Jin said there was a treasure here, and I thought the treasure was just this bean. I didn't pay much attention to anything else. Lu Qingshan scratched his head as he reacted. Look at you, can't even recognize all the treasures, and yet you're out treasure hunting. Study more diligently in the future, and recognize all the treasures. That way, you won't miss any opportunities when you go out. Lu Changxing advised his son. The school at Qingzhou Mountain not only had great scholars teaching reading and writing, there were also cultivators teaching cultivation trials and knowledge of the cultivation world. After detecting a spiritual root, the age from 6 to 12 was all about learning. That's why family and immortal sect children often knew more and had broader knowledge than loose cultivators. You're right, Dad. I will definitely listen to you and study hard. Lu Qingshan nodded earnestly, the picture of someone eagerly taking in lessons. Heh! Lu Changxing chuckled softly as he watched his son. He knew his son's character well. This was just him going along with what he said. Lu Changxing didn't mind. After all, he was currently only good at nurturing people, teaching them was another matter. He couldn't guarantee that he could teach the child well. So as long as the child didn't grow up twisted, he let other matters take their own course. His philosophy was to let nature take its course, and to govern by doing nothing that goes against nature. After replanting the golden armor bean mother, Lu Changxing took Lu Qingshan to see Lu Miaoyun. He asked her to take Lu Qingshan to water the beans with spiritual water and spiritual liquid regularly. Lu Miaoyun learned that Lu Qingshan had dug up the beans to play with and couldn't help but laugh and cry. Although she had been tasked with looking after the golden armor bean mother, she didn't water it with spiritual liquid every day. She watered it only every few days. So she didn't notice that Lu Qingshan had dug it up for play. However, this incident made her more alert and she planned to watch over it every day, lest the child played with it again and lost it, which would be bad. After dealing with this minor episode, Lu Changxing went to the Qingzhou Hall to find the family head, Lu Miaocheng. He reported that he was ready in terms of talisman making and if the family wanted to hold a ceremony, he was available at any time. Lu Miaocheng, upon hearing this, said he would arrange it right away and that it would likely take place in 2 months. He also inquired about Lu Changsheng's proficiency with second-rank talismans. When he heard that Lu Changsheng's proficiency with the second-rank Thunderfire talismans was at 60 to 70%, and he had even made a start on several other second-rank spirit talismans, he was both surprised and delighted. Learning that Lu Changsheng needed second-rank talisman materials, Lu Miaochang immediately allocated nearly 100 sets of second-rank talisman materials from the storeroom to Lu Changsheng. He mentioned that if Lu Changsheng needed more in the future, the family would reserve more second-rank talisman materials for him. At Lu Changsheng's home, all of his wives, concubines, maids, and children also came forward to offer their congratulations. Since the news had not been revealed earlier, Lu Changsheng had asked Lu Miaoyun to not mention it at home for the time being. Now that the news was announced, it naturally brought surprise and joy to his wives and children. After all, they all knew that their living standards depended on Lu Changsheng. The higher Lu Changsheng's standing and identity became, the more they could rise with the tide. Meanwhile, invitations were being sent out from Qingzhou Mountain to the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake, the Zheng family of Wugong Ridge, and the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, as well as to foundation establishment families that had interactions with the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, neighboring small energy refining families, and business associates. Lu Changsheng also sent an invitation to his good friend Hong Yi. It wasn't for the purpose of gifts. Such a celebration wasn't about profiting. It was mainly for the sake of reputation. After all, the highest level of cultivators attending such a celebration would be at foundation establishment, with most being energy-refining cultivators, unable to present any precious gifts. The entire celebration was likely to run at a loss. Unless it was a core formation ceremony, then the major foundation establishment powers might be willing to present substantial gifts. Thus, inviting Hong Yi was purely because of friendship. It was an opportunity for Hong Yi to expand his network through this celebration. At the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, a second-grade talisman master celebration. I didn't expect this Lu Changsheng to have been promoted to a second-grade talisman master so soon. The patriarch of the Yu family looked at the invitation in his hand, his expression becoming pensive. As one of the several large families neighboring Qingzhou Mountain, they were naturally well aware of the situations of the families around them. Lu Changsheng had long been on the watch list of these families. Otherwise, the Yu family wouldn't have tried to recruit Lu Changsheng by sending Yuning Yuan to dig at him and ordering an attack on him and Lu Miaoge. But he never expected that Lu Changsheng would be promoted to a second-grade talisman master so quickly. After all, talent is just talent. Who knows how many so-called geniuses were unable to take the next step after reaching the pinnacle of the first rank. However, this Lu Changsheng only has a 9th-grade spiritual root. Even with his extraordinary talent in the talisman path and ascending to 2nd grade, cultivation level is the foundation. Without the strength of cultivation level, he will find it difficult to make progress in the talisman path now. What's more intriguing is the mysterious foundation establishment female cultivator backing Lu Changsheng. She has never shown herself for many years now. I wonder if they are still in contact. The patriarch of the Yu family murmured to himself. A second-grade talisman master was certainly worthy of attention. But a foundation establishment great cultivator was even more fearsome. The reason their Yu family had not pressed aggressively against the Lu family in the Red Leaf Valley market over the years, instead opting for a soft approach, was also because of Meng Xiaoquan's influence. Unsure about the status of this mysterious foundation establishment great cultivator, he felt apprehensive. Huff! He exhaled lightly and put away the invitation, deciding to report this news to the family elder. At the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. A second-grade talisman master. I remember this Lu Changsheng being quite infatuated with pleasures of the flesh and fathering children. Currently, he has around 20 to 30 wives and concubines with over 100 offspring. The Bai family head thought of the information he knew about Lu Changsheng. If a daughter of my Bai family were to marry Lu Changsheng and bear him children, Perhaps we could form a connection with this talisman master. But Lu Changxing is a son-in-law of the Lu family, so if we wish to offer a bride, it might be a bit tricky. He tapped his fingers lightly on the desk, his face showing contemplation. Status is but a cloud. Lu Changxing is a man who deeply values loyalty and cherishes his offspring, allocating most resources to nurture them. As long as a daughter of my Bai family can bear him several talented children, what worries would there be for my Bai family's future? The Bai family had pondered, thinking of his family elder's current situation, and promptly made a decision. He then ordered the butler waiting outside, "Ask Fei Fei to come see me." Similar thoughts were shared by the Zheng family and several other small families or powers in the vicinity. Chapter 416. Master Lu, the young lady has fallen for you at first sight. After all, most cultivators do not spend too much time on starting families. Even if they take concubines, it's mostly for dual cultivation, enjoyment, or even for replenishment. Few ever have offspring. Without offspring, the effect of giving away daughters is naturally quite limited and not very significant. Someone like Lu Changxing, who marries and takes concubines, prolifically begets children, and values love and loyalty, naturally sparks thoughts in others who wish to forge connections through such means. During the days of the Lu family's preparation for the celebration, Lu Changxing was at home with his wives, concubines, and children, serenely crafting talismans. He was ready to turn all 100 sets of second-grade talisman-making materials obtained from the Lu family into talismans. With a profound origin bead and divine sense of foundation establishment late stage, I can even try drawing third-rank talismans, Lu Changxing thought to himself after finishing a number of talismans in the talisman room. Feeling that with his current mana and divine sense, he could attempt to draw third-rank talismans. He had not considered drawing third-rank talismans before due to the lack of talisman materials as well as the absence of a third-rank talisman inheritance. Now with the 99 mystical talisman scripture, there will never be a worry about inheritance. The scripture contains 126,600 variations of talismans derived from 81 types of spiritual patterns, covering everything from basic talismans to fifth-rank talismans. However, to draw third-rank talismans, I will also need third-rank talisman-making materials and a third-rank talisman brush. These can only be purchased in the Immortal City, Lu Changxing muttered, letting out a breath and storing away the talismans before leaving the study. With his current mana and divine sense, he could continuously draw talismans for an entire day without feeling tired. But while at home, he still took time out to accompany his wives, concubines, and children to foster their relationships. "Husband, you have a letter." On seeing Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoyun handed over a letter, speaking out. "A letter for me?" Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised on hearing this. He used to correspond with Hong Yi quite often. But since he went to Rui Prefecture every few months, he didn't exchange letters that much anymore. A letter from Feiyu? Lu Changxing was a bit surprised upon seeing the sender. Li Feiyu, who had returned once 3 or 4 years ago and didn't find him, then proceeded to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, had been out of touch ever since. This was the first time he had written a letter to him. Lu Changxing broke the seal on the letter and checked the contents. There wasn't much said in the letter. It was just a simple greeting, with Li Feiyu sharing some observations and experiences from Azure Phoenix Immortal City, and then mentioning his breakthrough to 6th-level energy refinement, now settled in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, asking Lu Changxing not to worry. He said that in case of any matters, letters could be sent to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Since the journey was long, he didn't expect to return anytime soon. Therefore, he hoped Lu Changxing, as his uncle, could help keep an eye on his children's well-being and arrange their marriages. It takes more than half a year to travel from Qingzhou Mountain to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Feiyu's settling down in Azure Phoenix Immortal City and riding back now. Indeed, it has been more than 3 years, Lu Changxing thought after reading the letter and feeling relieved to know his friend was fine. But he sighed at the thought of Li Feiyu's decision to settle in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for the long term. Clearly, Li Feiyu intended to carve out an achievement in the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, perhaps even aiming for foundation establishment before returning. Although Azure Phoenix Immortal City is known as a haven for loose cultivators, full of opportunities that have launched many into soaring success, one could imagine that making a name and achieving something of significance is not so simple. Li Feiyu is currently only at 6th level energy refinement. Without a great opportunity, breaking through to 9th level energy refinement may take more than a decade, and the chances of achieving foundation establishment are even slimmer. I can also visit Azure Phoenix Immortal City if there is a chance in the future, Lu Changxing said as he put away the letter. Thinking that if he had time in the future, he could also take a trip to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, Azure Phoenix Immortal City is different from the other two major immortal cities. Located at the border between Jiang Country and Yu Country, near the Myriad Beasts mountain range, it is a sacred place for loose cultivators. Before one knew it, 2 months had passed. Today, Qingzhou Mountain is festooned with lanterns and streamers, radiating festive cheer. The patriarch of the Yu family from Bai Lake Mountain has arrived. The Bai family head from 100 Birds Lake has arrived. The foundation establishment ancestor from Wugong Ridge Zheng family has arrived. The family head from Ning family of Creek Mountain has arrived. The voices of the greeters were continuously raised, announcing each honored guest and the gifts they brought. Today is the celebration for Lu Changxing, the 9th elder of the Lu family, for being promoted to 2nd grade talisman master. Chapter 418, Taking a Concubine. _1. Lu Changxing looked at the succession of men presenting their daughters with a speechless expression. He thought to himself why a simple celebration had turned into a giveaway event for daughters. Was it that all ceremonies were like this, or was it because of his own reputation that people were catering to his interests? Yet, he had been so restrained over the years. He glanced briefly at these young women. All of them had faces like blooming flowers under the moonlight. And they possessed spiritual roots, with cultivation evident in them. This made Lu Changxing surmise inwardly that this was the power of status and identity. Back then, he even had to worry about marrying a fairy with spiritual roots. He could only save money to rescue misfortunate women from the White Jade Tower. Now that he had just advanced to a 2nd grade talisman master, family after family, power after power, was sending over their descendants with spiritual root talents to be his concubines. Changxing, if you're interested, you can simply take them in without any hesitation, Lu Yuanzhong transmitted his voice to Lu Changxing at that moment. He of course knew about Lu Changxing's character. Knew that Lu Changxing had no great ambition for cultivation. Just wanted to have many children and a house full of descendants. So, taking in concubines was not something he minded much. Besides, people were sending daughters to Lu Changxing as a way to establish good relationships, favor with him, and his Lu family. His Lu family was also willing to engage with these people through this method to strengthen ties. Hearing these words, Lu Changxing had a moment of contemplation. Feeling that since he need not worry about the relationships with the Lu family and these families, then he could indeed take them in. For one, he had already considered the idea of taking concubines. He needed to increase revenue and cut expenses to fill up his back courtyard. Moreover, as his cultivation strength improved, he no longer had to be as cautious and worried as before when it came to marrying wives and taking in concubines. Although these women had their own families, to him, they were also known commodities, from clear and unsullied backgrounds, not likely to bring any trouble. After all, he couldn't possibly find all his concubines from amongst orphans. Nor were there that many orphaned female cultivators for him to encounter and bring home. He could visit the White Jade Tower to buy maidservants, but in the White Jade Tower, lower-grade spiritual root maidservants cost a few hundred spirit stones, middle-grade spiritual root maidservants started at a few thousand spirit stones. Even with wealth, he couldn't sustain such expenditure. Moreover, since he was preparing to establish a family, he also needed some allies, a network of relationships. And marital alliances were the best method to establish such a network. Even if he didn't take them now, in the future, if he wanted his offspring to marry women with clear backgrounds and spiritual roots, the best method would also be to form marital alliances with other cultivation families. For the sake of the family, for the sake of the children, I as an old father can only humiliate myself, Lu Changxing sighed inwardly. Then he cupped his hands together and said, I'm flattered by the affections of all the young ladies, but there are already many wives and concubines in the Lu household. Although he intended to take in a few girls, he couldn't just agree as soon as they asked. Could he? Wouldn't that make it seem like he was too lustful and degrade his status? However, before Lu Changxing could finish speaking, someone immediately said, It is an honor for my daughter to serve Master Lu. To be a mere maidservant is enough. How can we ask for a status? Hiss! This head of the Luo family is ruthless, actually not even vying for the status of a concubine for his own daughter. The others from smaller energy refining families found the Luo family head's words quite extreme when he spoke. They also harbored the thought of not competing for status, but thought to at least request the position of a concubine. They couldn't truly let their precious descendants serve others as maidservants. After all, the descendants they chose to bring, although not the seeds of their families, were still some of the better sprouts of their households. Since the Luo family head is so generous, it would be rude to decline such earnest offer. I will humbly accept. Lu Changxing, seeing the man so accommodating, also nodded his head. After speaking, he added, When there's time later, we can exchange more insights about the talisman path. Since they were sending a daughter over to be a maidservant, he also had to show some proper attitude in return. Master Lu, my daughter feels the same. Master Lu, my niece feels the same. The others also voiced out one after another. This put Elder Zheng of the Zheng family and the Bai family head in a slightly awkward position. The others were just small energy refining families, with lesser influence, willing to lower their status before Lu Changxing, a second-ranked talisman master. But their Zheng and Bai families were, after all, well-known and reputable. If an elder of the family or a family head were to humiliate themselves by offering their own direct daughters to Lu Changxing as maidservants, it would be somewhat shameful. I've been smitten with Miss Yongwan and Miss Feifei at first sight and willing to take them as concubines. I wonder if the two ladies would be willing? Lu Changxing, noticing Elder Zheng's and the Bai family head's embarrassment, volunteered. Annexing Red Leaf Valley was still included in his contingency plans. Therefore, he was also willing to foster a good relationship with the Zheng and Bai families. Moreover, judging by their appearances and cultivation levels, he believed that Zheng Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely to have middle-grade spiritual roots. Thus, taking the two as secondary concubines would be quite suitable. Upon hearing this, both women felt a slight relief in their hearts. Both of them, after all, were direct descendants of foundation establishment families. Although willing to marry Lu Changxing, to become maidservants like those from smaller families was still slightly bitter to them. Ill abide by the elder's decision, ill abide by the head's decision. The two women did not directly respond but spoke softly with their heads bowed. Good. If that's so, then this matter is settled. Elder Zheng and the Bai family head immediately showed smiles upon seeing this, and indicated that, concubinage notwithstanding, they would still interact with Lu Changxing as equals in the future. The other families, seeing this scene, did not say much. Knowing that the Zheng and Bai families were foundation establishment families, not something their own families could compare with. Chapter 419. Taking a concubine. Although Master Lu took many wives and concubines with his current status, he was not inclined to acknowledge all of them. Nevertheless, they were content to become maidservants. After all, they still had the opportunity to bear offspring in the future. If they gave birth to excellent children, the mother might benefit from the child's status. Some of the other guests witnessing this scene couldn't help but think of suitable relatives of marriageable age within their families. They hoped to form connections with the Lu family and Master Lu through such means. Thus, after a 3-day and 3-night celebration, Lu Changxing hosted another feast to welcome concubines. He took Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei as his new concubines. No objections came from Lu Changsheng's wives and other concubines about the addition of the 2 women and 5 maidservants. One reason was that they had grown accustomed to their husbands' ways. Moreover, the Lu family ancestor had given his blessing to this affair. It's been a long time since the 9th elder has taken concubines. I heard that these 2 are legitimate daughters of the Zheng and Bai families, yet now they can only be concubines. Yes, I remember Bai Feifei never married out. I didn't expect that she would end up marrying Uncle Changxing as a concubine now. Of course, Brother Changxing is now a 2nd-grade talisman master. Being able to marry him is a stroke of luck. Lu Changxing now has 30 or 40 wives, maidservants, and concubines, and now 7 more have been added. The Lu family disciples discussed Lu Changsheng's wedding, voicing their astonishment. That night, Lu Changsheng entered the bridal chamber. He skillfully lifted the red bridal veil, gazing upon the shy faces of the 2 young women before him. That year, he was 36, with 7 wives, 13 concubines, and 29 maidservants, and a fairy who had yet to be married and bear a child. For the following month, Lu Changsheng remained at home, enjoying the bliss of a newlywed night after night. Among the 2 new concubines and 5 maidservants, both Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei had 5th-grade spiritual roots. Among the 5 maidservants, except for a girl named Luo Rui with 6th-grade spiritual roots, the rest all had 7th-grade spiritual roots. But for Lu Changxing, this was acceptable. After all, in such families, having a middle-grade spiritual root was already considered quite talented. That they were willing to become his concubines was already a considerable investment on their part. As new people were added to his household, the already substantial estate began to feel a bit crowded. Lu Yuanzhong was very generous and allocated a plot of land in Qingzhou Valley for Lu Changxing so that another large estate could be built for him. She must be pregnant by now, right? After a month of effort, Lu Changxing felt that Xing Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely with child. He didn't linger any longer. After arranging household affairs, he set off for the Red Leaf Valley Market. He had been home for quite a long time, after all. In a few more months, Xiao Siye would be returning to Qingyun sect, and he wanted to accompany her. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market riding an iron feather eagle, Lu Changxing first visited his Peace Talisman Hall. He informed Gao He that his spiritual talisman shop would now sell 1 2nd-rank talisman to the public every month. The number of supreme 1st-grade talismans was raised to 8 per month. He also instructed Gao He to help him purchase 2nd-grade talisman-making materials on a long-term basis. Now that he had the 99 mystical talisman scripture and the method of talisman refinement formation, his need for 2nd-grade talismans had greatly increased. He planned to carry several hundred 2nd-grade talismans with him at all times. This way, if he encountered a nascent soul immortal, he could rely on the talisman formation to have some means of self-protection. After discussing matters with Gao He, Lu Changxing also inquired about his son, Lu Xianxi's well-being. He took his son to the 3rd floor and taught him about the knowledge of puppets. The craft of puppet making, although not highly profitable, just earned a modest income. However, the cost of learning was also relatively low. That's because, when crafting puppets, if a mistake is made in one of the steps and it fails, only some of the materials are lost, and most can still be reused. Unlike talisman making and alchemy. Once those fail, all materials are basically wasted, burning through money rapidly. Xianji, don't just stay inside the shop every day, go out more when you have time. If you see a girl you fancy, you can also talk to your father about it. After teaching about puppets, Lu Changxing said this to his son, Lu Xianji. His son was also 16 years old. It was time to consider marriage. Though many cultivators didn't marry for a lifetime to focus on their cultivation, or they only settled down when they were in their 40s or 50s, For someone like Lu Xinji, Lu Changxing still hoped his son would start a family early. Dad, I understand. In his youth, Lu Xinji had been rather naughty, but as he grew older and more sensible, his personality became more stable and restrained. As long as you understand, I'm not rushing you. I'm just hoping you'll also think about this aspect, Lu Changxing said, nodding. His child was only 16. He wasn't truly in a rush yet. Dad, rest assured I understand, Lu Xinji said with a smile, nodding in agreement. He knew his father's wish was for a house full of descendants, so he could understand his father's thoughts. Being only a 9th grade spiritual root, his achievements in this life would be limited, so it would be better to start a family early. After giving his son a few instructions, Lu Changxing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Lu Miaoge had also returned to Qingzhou Mountain for the celebration, so she knew about Lu Changxing taking concubines. To this, she just advised Lu Changxing to take good care of his health, not to indulge too much in carnal desires, as such activities could harm his body and interfere with his cultivation. In response to such remarks, Lu Changxing demonstrated through action that his body was in excellent condition. Afterwards, after the couple shared a tender moment, Sister Miaoge, this is the talisman path inheritance I received back then. But since I hadn't been able to advance to a 2nd grade talisman master and fully understand its contents, I've been unable to sketch out the content inside. These are the spiritual patterns I can now trace. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.